Goodbye. R-A-N-D-Y. Randy Callahan.
You better go check your bank account. Cause I drained him down to a zero amount.
Danger, your accounts are being hacked. Warning.
Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide.
Warning. Danger.
Check your head, cause I'm hiding inside.
Danger, your accounts are being hacked. Warning.
I'll see an alien on the mic today.
Warning. Danger.
Cause you know the crime really does pay.
Better fix that. Good night. Turning this all off. Tired of this fucking mess.
Thanks for hanging around, everybody. I just came back to say thank you. Thanks for all the contributions. That's high marks for the Rappin' Randy. Really, really good. There was a lot of good ones tonight, but that one really stuck with me. So yeah, we're going to do all we can to live stream from the road. This is the last stream before the trip. So when you next see us on Friday, God willing, we'll be streaming live from Pottstown, and it's going to be all the PCL crew in the house. It'll be me and Jim and Garrett, plus Perry and Tony Hawk. We're all staying in this big house, kind of a cabin. That's going to be it's going to be fun. So the only thing I got to get sorted out is New York. We had this great apartment booked for New York, and then the owner got in touch saying that they're going to be traveling and they can't accommodate it, which I don't understand, because you figure, why does it matter if they're traveling? Like, you know, isn't that the whole point, that you're renting your place out because you're not living there? So, but anyway, so we're got to come up with a plan B for New York. But we got a nice house on the Jersey Shore, Seaside Heights. That'll be a fun Sunday. Perry's gonna get spray tanned. Try to go live there at some point. It's gonna be a very loose schedule, so we don't have a set time. If I had to venture a guess, I would say probably around 5 p.m. East time on Friday, but who knows? So just, you know, if you subscribe on YouTube, if you follow on Twitch, you'll get notified when we go live. We are going to go live. We're not going to go live on Saturday, because that's the day of the big show. We might go live a little bit on Sunday evening, maybe, and maybe a little bit on Monday early, but I can't guarantee that. The only thing I can guarantee is Friday. And I've been spending time on this laptop, making sure everything runs from the laptop. We got an extra camera for it. Theoretically, everything's good to go, but geez, who knows? You know, we could have some technical snafus. But yeah, we rented a car big enough to accommodate everybody, and yeah, it should be fun. You know, I haven't seen Perry since the last TomB week. That's almost 2 years ago. That's the last time I was in Perry's presence. Jim has never met Perry. This is going to be Jim's first time meeting Perry, so I think Jim's going to be a little starstruck at first. You know, because of course Garrett, Tony, and I are veterans of Perry, but it should be interesting. But I booked all that, and it kind of made me feel like I used to do back in the day. I did some tour managing where I would have to plan all this travel for all the band and crew, and this kind of reminds me of that, because I'm like booking everybody's flights and booking accommodations and everything, and planning everything, and renting the car, and figuring out our little tour stops. So it kind of threw me back to when I did that. It all kind of comes back to you. So yeah, and I'm trying to pack as much. I'm kind of not getting anxious, but getting a little nervous, like that I didn't bring everything that I need to bring. So I'm bringing everything. I'm bringing like extension cords and like things that I need for the trip. That to mainly facilitate live streaming. So like an extra camera. Make sure all that's zero drinks allowed near this computer. This computer that I have now is like a very high end, more gaming. It's kind of a gaming laptop, but obviously I'm not using it for gaming. I'm not a gamer really, unless you count Nintendo. But it has like an Ethernet cable in it. It's very robust. It's got like an NVIDIA 4090 GPU, very fast processor, lots of memory. So it should handle OBS. OBS is very, very hard to run on a laptop. In fact, the last laptop I got, the one that I was at Perry's with, I intended that to run natively, but I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, and that thing could not run OBS natively. In fact, I had to come up with a workaround where I basically logged into my computer at home. That's how TomB worked. TomB Week worked. I logged into my computer at home through this. It was like a Microsoft Surface 4, I believe it was, and logged into the computer at home, and then basically remote controlled my computer, porting Perry's computer in, because Perry didn't have a very good PC back then. He had his old PC that couldn't run the stream either. Now he can, but he couldn't do that either. So I had to like log into my home computer, port Perry in via Skype, and then and then basically just controlled it remotely because that computer couldn't handle it. In fact, when I tried it, it completely crashed. So this one can hopefully handle it. I just got to load some more things in there, and we should be good to go. But that's that. So it should be a fun couple of days. We're looking forward to the weekend. It's gonna be good. To answer people's questions, I don't know if there's gonna be any kind of meetup in New York because we're only there for a day, and we're kind of packed with things we're doing already. Maybe that afternoon, maybe, but I've had a lot of people message me about that, and I can't say anything. Maybe we'll meet up somewhere for drinks or something like that. We'll announce it when we do the stream when we get closer. But and then also check out the PCL store, perrycaravello.com/store. Those brand new Steelathon shirts. Shout out to Rafe, who really creates all the art for the store and does all the stuff, and he's helping a lot with PCL 3.0, where he's actually designing new emojis and all that stuff. He has such a great sensibility for everything Perry and PCL, so it's cool. Somebody in chat says, Tom, why are you afraid to have Perry and William Randolph Hearst in the same room? Perry should go on Cumia. Gavin will behave. It's a longer conversation. It's not about that. It's the fact that, do you know that you can't even have Gavin on your YouTube? Like, because I actually talked to him. He called me like about a week ago. It was funny. He called me because some one of our fans like wrote him like to his what is his platform, like censored TV or something like that, and he sent me this whole thing. I'll have to dig it up, but I don't have a problem with him personally. Gavin and I go way back. It's just from a public relations standpoint, it's a bad it's kind of danger zone-ish. And who knows, maybe down the road that'll loosen up, but his first time on Cumia, I'd want it to be with Cumia, but that's not even guaranteed because they gave us like the one date they gave us was Thursday. They wanted Perry to do Thursday's show on Anthony Cumia, and this is after I went back and forth with Eric, his producer, And Thursday's the day he comes in, and he flies into Newark, and it just, like, timing-wise, it wouldn't work out. And he hasn't gotten back to me on another date, so maybe Perry will do a Zoom thing. You know, I don't know, but it was funny. Let me see if I can pull this thing up here. Yeah, because I'm going to have a hard time finding it now. Oh, okay. Yeah, so Gavin sent me this text, which is, like, this long-winded thing, and... So it's just basically this guy who's like a Patreon subscriber. And by the way, Gavin did not block out your information at all. So like I know exactly who it is and everything, but I'm not going to dox you. It doesn't matter. So it said, I am going to give you a link to YouTube where the offending comments begin right after the 7-hour mark and continue off and on for about 6 minutes. Tom says that Gavin, quote, doesn't get Perry, which I told Gavin, and Gavin agreed with, by the way. Gavin agreed with that because he's very out of touch with Perry. And I subscribe to Perry's Patreon and sometimes fall asleep to the soothing sounds of a 60-year-old man baby screaming and threatening people giving him money. So I woke up the other morning at about 7 hours into the stream, and it was just Tom doing his little shitty after-party show. And he happened to be talking about the logistics of getting Perry to Compound Media on their trip to the East Coast next month. He mentions that putting Perry and Gavin in the same room is a line he won't cross. While listening to this fat, and then he says, F word, say this shit, I kept thinking, but Gavin's probably the sole reason half of Perry's audience even knows he exists. I think half is a little strong there. I think half is a little strong. I definitely know a lot of people know about Perry because of Gavin, but half the audience, that is a stretch, my friend. Anyway, I love watching Perry stream, and I understand the guy needs someone to help manage his life and can appreciate Tom keeping him on track, but he seems to want to control every aspect of the stream, trampling over potentially funny moments. I know, fair point there. Also, Tom's constantly acting like he's making a huge sacrifice to direct the stream, and he claims that he has stuff to get done, but always hosts his gay after-party show for an additional 3 to 4 hours after Perry goes to bed, where it's just him offering strong opinions about consequential topics such as fast food restaurants, comic book characters, and video games to an audience of about 10 to 20 people. That I take umbrage with. I get a solid 500. Easy. Combined with Twitch and YouTube, sometimes more. Okay, so I take umbrage with the 5. That's a stretch. You make some fair commentary points on the other stuff, but I will take umbrage with the 10 to 20 people. The dude gives me some serious wannabe comedian vibes. And Tom and Perry split the Patreon subscription fees down the middle, which is why I'm considering canceling. Sorry to prattle on so long. This just really pissed me off as I was looking forward to a William Randolph Hearst and Perry reunion. So that was this big long thing that this guy wrote, Gavin. Of course, Gavin had no idea about it because he doesn't follow PCL. He knows that nothing about what's been going on. He doesn't listen to After Hours, and I haven't heard from him in a while. And then he sent me the text that he was like, "Hey, somebody just sent me this," and I was like, "Oh, that's funny." And he goes, and he's like, "Were you bad mouthing me?" I was like, "No." I said, and I look. The one thing I like about Gavin is he's very direct, and you're very direct with him in return. So I was just like, "Yeah, no." I said, "You're out of touch with Perry," which is true. He's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll agree with that." It's like, "Yeah, no, I haven't followed it in a long time," because his wife came down on him like years ago when he was like obsessed with Perry, and like his wife kind of threw down this ultimatum saying what was it? If you don't quit, I don't want. She doesn't like mean humor or anything like that, and gave an ultimatum like, "I'm going to leave you." By the way, this is far beyond any Proud Boys nonsense. And so he stopped. He stopped following Perry, but he's still obsessed with it. So he occasionally gives his take on Perry when he's on with Anthony, and it's always outdated and wrong. And I told him that, and he's like, "Yeah, you're right." So he actually wanted to meet up for drinks, and I said, "Yeah, that's cool. Maybe we can do that." But scheduling wise, it just it didn't work out. But anyway, I found that really funny because the person who wrote that had no idea. Like, Gavin and I go back a long way. And we may have like kind of fallen out of touch for various reasons. But I always liked Gavin. I thought any time I've criticized him about going a little too deep into the political sphere and a little too deep with the Proud Boys stuff, outside of that, he was always super, super funny and really. The thing that disappoints me the most about him is just how he kind of, went so hard in that direction, in the political direction, for lack of a better term, that he lost that social commentary aspect of himself, where he was just kind of like a lifestyle guy and giving guys advice on what to wear and how to act. Even if you didn't agree with him, he was very entertaining in how he did it. So yeah, Jimmy says, yeah, by the way, Gavin and I did a show together on Compound where we talked about Perry and Big Three and all that stuff. So, I mean, whoever wrote this didn't really do a deep dive into research. Yeah, by the way, Gavin's the reason why I know about Perry, because that's how far back we go, before Windy City Heat even came out. So that's how far back we go. But anyway, he called me and he was like, he wanted to know about. And by the way, he really didn't give a shit about talking to Perry either. Like, he didn't give a shit about like Perry being on with Cumia and not him. He's like, yeah, he's like, I don't care. He's like, Anthony was the one that was pushing for it because Anthony doesn't know anything about Perry and wanted somebody else to be a, like a helper to help along, like a co-host to help along with the interview. Somebody says, Gavin's been on Chrissy's show. Don't be surprised if he showed up. By the way, Gavin's not showing up anywhere unless he's getting paid. He's not just turning up because he loves Perry. He's not going to do that. Hold on a second. Speaking of the devil. Yes, Perry, I'm still on the air.
One question.
Go ahead.
Why would you allow that evil, sick, demented fucking cunt and bitch whore to run
language.
from us?
We don't do language like that on After Hours.
Okay, excuse me. Why would you allow my ex, I'm calling her my ex-sister-in-law, because she's ex-family, I want nothing to do with her. Why would you allow her to steal from us?
How am I allowing anything, Perry? The things come in as they come in. You think I don't understand what your point is. Like, I'm allowing.
My point is, yeah, I think you're allowing it.
How am I allowing it?
I don't know, but because I don't know that much about computers to know. But I don't like what I saw tonight. I'm very upset over it, and things better change starting in Pottstown.
What are you the most upset about?
The disgraceful, gross, demoralizing one, and her sick garbage too. And of course the RC shit, which of course he's going to try to make it look like it was me that wanted him to rape me. That fucking prick. Time to sue that motherfucker. Time to sue that son of a bitch. Anyway.
Well, he's doing a new rap career now, so I think you should be a little supportive of that. I mean, at least he's trying to...
Supportive?
Yeah.
No, supporting him is like murdering myself, okay? End of story, good night.
Is that it? Okay. All right. Anyway. A few weeks ago, I spoke about reaching out to RC. Anything I could talk about? No, I haven't reached out, and no, there's nothing else to talk about there. Tom get a spa day or a massage before I babysit Perry. I can't do that now because I'm so badly sunburned from yesterday. I was doing this game, and it was just one of these. I kind of ran out of the house because it was early enough, but I didn't realize how sunny and hot it was going to be, and I didn't put any sunscreen on. And of course, I'm Irish, and it was a disaster. Like I look like it's just. I sent the picture to Jim and Garrett to see, just because I was so ridiculously red. So yeah. Anyway, so that's the plan for the week. We're gonna head into town on Thursday. We're gonna drive to our place in Pottstown. Did I hear? I can't possibly see how we'd be able to do Kumia on Thursday because everybody gets in. So, and I haven't heard anything back from them, so I can't say anything there. There might be another show that we go on that's after Chrissy, but that's not confirmed either. The only thing that's confirmed is Chrissy Mara, and people are flying out. Everybody's flying out of New York on next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow. But I think we got to get through one day at a time. Pottstown will be fun. Even Friday, I think we just kind of chill out. We'll probably, maybe get to bed at a reasonable time. And, whatever, have a relaxing Friday. Maybe I'll make those Bloody Marys for everybody, and then we'll kind of chill out, get the lay of the land, do a stream at some point. Not sure how long the stream is going to go for, and then all hands on deck for Saturday. We're staying about 15-minute drive from the venue. I think the doors open on Saturday at 5. I'm not sure what time the thing actually starts, but it should be really fun. How can I join the Caravello Kings? I don't know. I don't know, but please don't steal any more of my car parts. I can't afford it. I really can't. Somebody says, will I be banning the Gavin troll on Patreon? No, I don't care. It doesn't honestly. That doesn't even bother me. It doesn't. Do you know how many people that are probably on Patreon that hate my guts? Why would I ban somebody that's paying $10 a month for our Patreon, which is great by the way? No, absolutely not. They can say whatever they want. I don't really care. And Gavin found it funny, and I'll say this: it was actually nice to talk to him. We had a kind of a fun conversation. It was nice to sometimes even with somebody that you've been friends with for a while, and you have not that we ever had a falling out, because we didn't. We just kind of slipped away from each other due to various things. And when you reconnect, it was kind of fun. None of that political stuff came into it, and it was just kind of just joking around and fun, and it was nice hearing from him again. My only fear with putting him with Perry is not because I don't trust him or anything like that. I think he wouldn't do anything bad or anything like that. It's just that it's just such a bad look for certain aspects of him that is not even necessarily his fault anymore, but it's just a bad PR move for Perry. And I wouldn't want to put Perry in a situation where and also here's the thing too, this leads into Jimmy Kimmel and stuff, and they all have this conspiracy theory with Gavin and stuff, and that would kind of play into that. It's a whole lot of stuff, a whole other stuff that haven't really even articulated properly that goes into it. But it's not I'm not somebody who's offended by him or anything like that. That's a line I won't cross because he's a Nazi. I don't buy into any of that. I think he's made some mistakes like anybody. But I how do I say this? If it's up to me, I wouldn't mind him doing a show with him and Anthony, but it's just I see how people act if Perry even goes on Chrissy's show or that Steel Toe show, because they were God forbid conservative, and people go crazy PCL says they're not political, which we're not, and now he's doing these political shows. Yeah, but he's doing shows and they're not political at the time Perry's on. And by the way, if some far left show wants Perry on, that's fine too, and he's still not political. Jimmy Kimmel acts so holier than now when he is anything but. Yeah, trust me, that's very true. I'm not going to get into that. Tom, I recently discovered Red Bar. I haven't heard Red Bar in like close to a year, but I love Red Bar and really respect their whole operation. From a technical standpoint, especially. Perry has enough bad PR. Yeah, that's true. Jim says, we don't care about your politics, just come for the audience. Yeah, that's true. That's the thing with Cumia too. Like, and I think Cumia's very funny, but I don't care about his politics or what he's perceived to be. But I do care about exposing Perry to a new audience. So, it's just that. And if you're somebody that gets offended by Perry being on shows that may disagree with your ideology, what can we tell you? Sorry. Hope you can forgive us one day. Am I related to Kevin Brennan? No, I get that every time, and no, the answer is no. The answer is no. But I did actually, I sucked it up. I think I mentioned this. Maybe I didn't, because I don't think I did. Maybe I mentioned this on Friday, because I know I didn't do it After Hours last week, but I did end up agreeing to fix the car with the catalytic converter missing and the damage. And my dad was actually really nice about it, and he split the cost with me. So yeah, so I'm getting that back. And part of the reason is it's an old car. It's a 2004 Hyundai Sonata. It's seen better days, but I'm not in a position to buy a new car right now. I'm not in a position to buy a used car right now. And I needed to get me through like a year or two. And just as a daily driver, just as like going to the store, going to the gym, that kind of stuff. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't have an attachment to it, because it was my mom's car. And, there's like little things still in like the glove box and like the things that were like hers, like her candies, and like, there was a key ring of hers and things like that. And it's, so in a weird way, driving the car gives me a connection to my mom. So I don't know if anybody, and I don't know if that's the case with Perry as well, because he also drives his late mother's car. But I had a hard time, because if I didn't get this fixed, then we junked the car, and I felt weird about junking the car that was my mom's car. So anyway, Grimace says, love him or hate him, Red Bar is a beautiful looking show, very well produced. Yeah, exactly. You got to admire, like, top tier on every level. The cameras are great. Everything's great. Everything's awesome on that. It just looks great. You can only hope to have that good of a looking show. And they put a ton of money into it. So I still pay for Red Bar subscription, like whatever, Scars Club. I still pay for it, even though I'm kind of out of touch with it. I'm as out of touch with Red Bar as Gavin is with Perry. Let's put it that way. TomB, I have an idea for monthly streams. Perry runs solo, like Weather Matters. Call it In the Weeds, and can be anything he wants. So yeah, that's kind of what we were doing with In the Weeds. That's kind of what I want to do more. Perry hasn't been willing to do that. He hasn't been willing to do another show. But we'll get that going again. Who owned the house from infamous Perry punching TomB in the pool? A really cool woman. I forget her name, but she was an actress actually, and then she became a stunt woman. She had a very interesting story. She actually had a book, and in the 70s, and she was super cool. And I just found it on Airbnb and booked it, and she was really, really awesome, really cool. Did I like the Mario movie, Mark? Yeah, I did. I mean, honestly, I just went because Teddy wanted to see it, and he was over the moon about it. Yeah, I liked it fine. For what it was exactly what it needed to be. I felt it could have been about 10 minutes longer, maybe flesh out some elements if I'm going to get really critical of it. There was not a lot of story there. but it's packed with little little nuggets. If you're a longtime Nintendo fan or Mario fan, there's a lot of stuff to like in it. So, do I recommend it for grown adults to see it on their own? No, but if you have a kid to take, or when it comes on streaming. Actually, I think I read that it's coming on streaming like next week or something. Not streaming, like video on demand, where you can buy it digitally, like on iTunes or something, and Amazon. And I think that's ridiculous because the movie's slaying at the box office, and I feel like you're really going to cut into that. Like, why do you do that? Like, why are you going to like cut into your theatrical performance? Like, people are going to buy it on demand anyway. Let it burn out theatrically. But they stick to this ridiculous, like 90-day window, which is ridiculous. Back in the day, before the pandemic, it was always I think it was was it 3 months or maybe more? Now it's not even 90 days. It's like 60 days or something. So anyway. But it was good. Like, the voice acting was good. It was really good. Wavy G, you like Teddy's review of the movie? Yeah, he recommends it to everybody. In fact, we were playing T-ball in the game, and he, whenever he'd, if you have no experience with T-ball league is like, you hit off a tee and you hit the ball, and everybody gets on base, everybody touches home, and every time he got to a different base, he would ask people if they saw the Mario movie and that they should go see it. Yeah, Titanic was in the theater for 2 years. I think Titanic's like the last movie that did that, where it was. Because I remember that movie played for a year. There was a theater near me that had it. Like, it opened in December, and the next December, like December 99, that thing was still playing, first run. You don't see that anymore. Hey, Tom, is it cool if I bring a gift for Perry t-shirt to the show? Yeah. Or a little gift in cash for you and the boys. You don't have to bring us cash, but that's really cool of you. Yes, and the answer is yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But, yeah. I got a video to post on Patreon. It's just, I am getting really against it as far as, like, planning this trip. I got to pack, and I got to make sure all my ducks are in a row. So, I'll see about it. But, yeah, there's the cleanup video from Friday, like, that I recorded right after the stream. I'll try to post on video. So, if you go, will Teddy meet Perry in New York? No, I don't think so, because we're only in New York City for one day. And Teddy's never been to New York City. He's driven through it, but he's never been there. Maybe it's a slim chance, because originally when we were going to be in New York for Sunday and Monday, I would have said yes. But now that we're just in there for that Monday, and he goes, he's still in school, so I don't see it happening, unfortunately. But one of these days, I want to take Teddy to Disneyland in Anaheim. So maybe when we go out there, maybe he'll meet him. Please make a shirt that says, "I demand respect." How can I get an autograph poster of Pottstown? I'm not able to make it. See, a lot of people aren't able to make it. If you bought a ticket and you show the proof of the ticket, I'll see what I can get. I'm already getting a couple. I know Georgia from the UK is definitely getting one. She can't make it, and I want to get one for Soviet Goat, and a couple other people that can't make it. Date and Nate, some people that legitimately bought the VIP tickets. So I'm going to see. I talked to Bob about it. He was really cool about doing that. Any chance we could start sending monthly bozos to Perry? I'm kind of over the bozo thing personally. I'm never going to tell anybody what to do, but I don't know. I think the bozo thing had its sunrise and sunset, but that's just me. I prefer boats and pools personally, but I'm not going to say don't. We need a PCL only event in California. Yeah, something like that. I could see a Palm Springs event. Possibility. That's kind of what we're doing with this. Pottstown show with Uncle Rico is we're just kind of testing the waters of how this works. I want to see what their operation is like, take notes, and and see how things go where where we can feasibly translate PCL into a live event. Will the tiger painting shirt be made available for the merch store? Yes, absolutely. It's actually a big thing that we were talking about because both Rafe and I were scouring the internet looking for that tiger image, and we just couldn't find it. I even I was looking at eBay auctions for old tiger pictures. Couldn't find one, and so what I'm going to do next is Perry agreed to take it to like a Staples or like a FedEx place, and basically he's going to just have it professionally scanned. Like they're going to open up the frame. I don't even know what it's printed on. Is it, it could be velvet or something. Who knows? It's very 70s. It could be velvet. But we're going to get it scanned, the actual tiger image. And then, we're going to do t-shirts, and we'll make, like emojis and that kind of stuff out of that scan. So yes, there will be tiger t-shirts. After New York City, Chicago is the obvious next step. Yeah, I love Chicago. Love Chicago. So I would definitely be up for a Chicago thing at some point. But it's got to make sense. You got to find the right venue for that kind of thing. You got to figure out. There's a lot of logistics, and just even like I'll be honest with you guys. Like we're losing money on this show. We're losing money. Like Perry's getting paid X amount. Perry and Garrett, flight and accommodations in Pottstown are covered, but outside of that, we're on our own, and and it's fine. It's good. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, going forward, doing this again, I don't want to be in a situation where, I'm paying X amount for a rental car, X amount for an Airbnb or this and that. Now I don't mind. After Saturday, all of that's on our own. Like. We're choosing to go to the Jersey Shore. We're choosing to go to New York City, and it's just it's expensive. Even the rental car was way more than I thought it would be in my head. But it's fine. But just going forward, you don't want to. It's like they say when you're producing a movie or something, you don't want to put your own money into it. You want to just make sure that stuff's covered. So that's all. I don't want to be in that situation, but for this first time, it's totally fine. But yeah, I predict Perry will be on the no-fly list. Well, the last time he flew was around this time last year. He, it was a short flight. He went up to Washington to see his cousin, and he showed up late to the airport and missed his flight. But I don't think that's going to be the case this time. He's not really an experienced flyer. Perry in Boston. Is that where you're from, Soviet Goat? I like Boston a lot. Yeah, we'll see. It's got to make sense. Like Palm Springs would make sense. Vegas would make sense. Is Perry's extremely positive attitude due to Pottstown? Yeah, somewhat. Despite what he says on the stream, he's really looking forward to it. He's looking forward to meeting Bob. He's looking forward to seeing all you guys that are coming to the show. And I think I think that's kind of perked him up. Of course he's delusional enough to think that Scarlett is going to show up. Although that was a weird turn at the end where he's like, he wanted Perry to. He wanted Scarlett to stay with her husband, which is weird. I don't know if that was a cope or not. Perry turned up late to the airport. Yeah, and it was weird because he shows up so ridiculously early everywhere else, he doesn't do it for the airport. I think maybe he got the times confused or whatever. It didn't matter. He got the next flight out. He had to stay at the airport for like 3 hours or something like that. Yeah. When is Perry going to move? I don't know. Hopefully sooner than later. But it's a big process, and not to get into too much detail about this, but Perry's credit stinks. Make sure he packs the towel. Oh yeah, he's packing the towel. The towel is already in the bag. Don't worry about that. The thing about Perry buying a house is buying property is his credit is abysmal. Like I actually ran his credit recently, and it's terrible because, well, first of all, he doesn't have a lot of credit history at this point. But back when he first lost his disability, I'd say within that first 6 months, he opened up a couple of credit cards that were real like dodgy credit cards. Like I think one was a secured card, and that means that when you get a secured card, like you pay for it, like you pay for the card, and then they give you credit. And one was like a bank I never heard of, like these just garbage cards that like whoever heard of these banks or whatever. And of course he just ran them up, like he would put his phone bill on, and this is before I jumped in 100%, and it was like he kept it from me for a while, and then I found out. So those things are on his credit currently. Now all things, and I'm a credit expert now because I've been trying to repair my own from when I was helping Perry. Things fall off your credit after 7 years. After 7 years, unless you declare bankruptcy, I think that lasts a little longer. That lasts about 10 years. But if you screwed over a credit card company, 7 years, and then it falls off. So he's got one of those on there now. But one of the a good way to build up your credit, if you have either no credit or bad credit, is to add yourself as an authorized user, and on somebody else's account that has good credit and hopefully a long credit history, because that's one of the biggest aspects of compiling your credit is how long you've had credit history, how long you've had credit cards. I made the big mistake of canceling my oldest card years ago, which was so stupid in hindsight, because that goes back to the 90s, and even if I had a low balance on it, and now it's not even on my credit history anymore, because they even if you cancel a card, it stays on your credit history for about 10 years and then it falls off. Stupid move. But long story short, I added myself to, after my mom passed away, my mom has this one credit card. My dad is on the account, and eventually it's going to get closed out because they'll report that my mom's passed away. So it's going to be any minute now. But I did add myself as an authorized user, not to use it to spend, but just to get it on my credit report. Because again, my credit was screwed because I ran into some trouble when I was trying to cover Perry's stuff and mine at the same time. And I was always good with my credit, always paid my bills on time, always paid the full balance. And then I got a little overwhelmed, and the things will eventually fall off, except one of them was an American Express card. And let me tell you about American Express, and I'm sorry for getting to the credit card reads, but I'll get out of it in a second. But if you screw over American Express, they don't forget. Like most other things, like you can have a Capital One card, a Chase card, whatever, and you can run, unless you run up like a crazy amount of money. But if you, like a normal a lot of people in their 20s, they don't understand how credit works, and they run up, like they get into debt for like, I don't know, let's say you're in debt for like $8,000, and then you default on the card. You don't pay it. And then it goes into collections, and then they write it off. Most card companies will just, eat it and forget about it. Not American Express. They will hold a grudge. And then if you want to apply for American Express again, they were like, okay, well, you can do that, but you owe us this money. Like, unless it's under a certain, unless it's like under maybe it's under $1,000 where they don't care, but they care, because I found out recently the hard way. But I was able to get around it because I also added myself as an authorized user to my dad's Amex cards. And anyway, doing those two things, adding myself as an authorized user to my mom's and also my dad's, automatically skyrocketed my credit back up to acceptability, to the point where I could then get a credit card. And I hadn't been able to get a credit card in a long time because of the things that went down with helping Perry out. So anyway, it's a long story. Actually, Data Nate didn't know about. Nate and I have been going back and forth talking about credit card stuff because we're kind of both in the same obsession at the moment, and it's kind of all I've been watching on YouTube, because once you search something on YouTube, it just corrupts your whole algorithm. So I was looking for researching different things, and I was researching stuff about credit just for mine and Perry's, and So every time I go on YouTube now, there's like all these credit card channels. But Nate gave me a really good tip on a card that I would like to get down the road. That's kind of like the ultimate rewards card, because you can get like, it gives you like, if you go to Vegas, it gives you like top tier Caesars, MGM, and everything else, and you could just kind of piggyback on all these like things. You gotta. I've been into this like points system now with the credit cards, because that was never a thing when I was first getting credit cards. Now the points thing are a big deal, and how you can status match. In fact, when I rented the car today, one of the credit cards I have gave me like, what did it give me? I think it gave me one of these. I think it was Hertz. Like gave me like a real high level of Hertz, but I rented the car via Enterprise, and I went to see if status matching my Hertz would give me the top tier at Enterprise, and it did. So now I have top tier Enterprise. So now when I rent this car, hopefully they'll give me a free upgrade because I status match. So anyway, it's a longer thing. I could do a whole after hours just on status matching and getting points and using all these things. But my long blabbing thing, the guy who wrote Gavin is really not going to like this because I'm just making probably no sense. But my point is, in order to fix Perry's credit, I'm going to add him as an authorized user on my cards and see how that goes. Because now that I have a decent credit, hopefully it boosts up his. Of course, I'm never going to give him the card. I'm going to put it in my drawer. But he will be linked to my credit. And, when I pay bills on time and everything like that builds up his credit. And hopefully I can get him a credit card in a couple of months that I'm going to make sure he's good with and pays it on time. And once we build that up, I know Cha-Cha says, oh no, but I'm not going to give him the card. I just want to build up his credit so when the time comes where we have to get a mortgage on the house, he can actually get one. Because right now, there's no way he would get a mortgage. There's no way. There's no way any lender would touch him. Which is ridiculous because obviously he makes a good living now with the stream, but it's all the back stuff, the cards he opened up that he never paid, and just having no credit history. And he told me anytime he did have any kind of credit card thing, he always blew it. Like he had a bunch of cards in the 90s, he blew those, but those aren't on his record anymore. Somebody says, my YouTube algorithm is completely screwed. I searched Perry Caravello and now I get recommended the Cultural Club music videos a lot of lawsuit videos. Yeah, it's funny. PCL always pops up in my YouTube, but I always, like on my regular YouTube, I don't want to see PCL, so I always like say not interested. I'll give it a like, of course, because why not? But I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it come up on my personal YouTube, because it's like it's like work and home and everything like that. So, but yeah. Anyway, that's my plan with Perry, building up his credit. So, in answer to the question of when is Perry going to move, it's really going to be up to when I can get his credit to a place. Mark says he's a realtor. Yeah, I know. I mean, but Arizona's on his list of places he would move to, so who knows. But, yeah. Oh, somebody says, Tom, I'm here at your house. Well, you're not, because I could, like Perry, I have a camera, and I don't see anybody outside. I would let you in if you were, but you're not. So yeah, building up Perry's credit, that's my next goal, as far as goals go, I don't know. I don't know what else I can do. Anybody else has other tips on building up somebody's credit, I'll take them. But I don't want to pay for one of these. I've done this in the past where you pay a fee for like one of these companies, like, hey, we'll help rebuild your credit. They don't really do anything that you can't do yourself. So it's it's kind of a waste of money. And if you do a little searching online, you can find some really good things. Got to have a clean backup account that you never search PCL stuff on. Yeah, I guess that's true. Hey, by the way, though, shout outs to everybody that's subscribed to the channel lately, because we're almost at 17,000 subscribers. And you know how long it took us to get 7,000 subscribers? It took us over 2 years to get over 7,000. And we got our next 1,000 in under a week. So that's been really cool. And a lot of that is Garrett's hard work. And also just, being exposed to different audiences. I think we got some from, Bob Levy, and other things, but a lot of it was Garrett just putting up those YouTube shorts, and a lot of them kind of going viral. So that's been great. So yeah, I think we're going to be on the doorstep of 20K soon, which is crazy because that's not something I ever really conceived of. I thought getting to 10 would be a nice little thing that we'd eventually get to. But I don't think there was ever any chance of getting to 20, at least anytime soon. So it's been that's been really cool. I don't see PCL as ever being like no, not 7K from the Shuley network. No, of course not. But it's all part of it. But I think Garrett takes a big part of it. But we all do. Obviously, Perry takes the biggest credit of it because it's his channel. It's his name. People tune in for Perry. Obviously, he gets the most amount of credit. And, and I'll take some. And, Jim takes a lot because he produces a lot of great content. But, it's just getting it out there to new people. If we get to 100K one day, that'll be great. I can't even conceive of that because that's just a crazy amount of people to be into this kind of thing. It's like, think about that. Think about what 100,000 people look like. And also, you got to be into this kind of thing. You got to be being into Perry, as you guys all know, is a niche thing. Like, does your significant other like Perry? I know in certain cases, like Danko, the answer is yes, but that's rare. Do your friends like Perry, and do they think you're crazy for watching PCL? It's a niche thing, but it's possible. I always think about all the people out there that would love Perry and would love the kind of things that we do on these streams, that they just don't know about it. And that's, again, getting back to the whole like Gavin thing and Kumia thing. That's why it's important to me to get him on different shows, even if some people don't like it because of political affiliations. We're just going on there to introduce people to a different audience, and they have sizable audiences, politics aside. If Perry makes a couple more years, you guys can get to 50K. Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be great. That'd be great. I'm not going to, the mistake that I think I've made in the past is that I think like, oh, this is going to be the thing that's skyrocket. Perry was a guest on this XYZ, or Perry's on Smiling Friends, or Perry's on this. And this is going to be the answer to our problems. This is going to take us to the next stratosphere. And to be honest with you, I'm very happy with the way things are right now, as far as like the amount of engagement, the amount of views we get. If you double, triple that audience, it's going to get a little hairy doing these streams. And also the number of subscriptions that we have is not translating to live views. A lot of people watch on YouTube. I'm going to talk just about YouTube, not Twitch. Like, let's say we have close to 17,000, but they're not all tuning in live, or maybe they're watching later. There seems to be a hard cap of live viewers that's around like 800 or so when we're live, which is very good. It's way more than we used to get. But, yeah. I'm not saying Under the Radar is better or worse. I just don't see... Perry can never go mainstream, I mean, because of just the nature of it. I don't think. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Really, I don't know what I'm talking about. I learn as I go. I don't know anything. I'm just doing this, as we go. Some don't really get it. My wife said we were being mean to Perry, and she learned a lot about his history. I get that. I get that people say it's mean or whatever, but Perry rolls with a lot more things, than he leads on, and also, he makes. If this was just a thing where it was like okay, like take that Cobra guy for example, right? I don't know how many people watch him, but like. That's a guy with real problems, and he's got alcohol problems, and he just gives away everything for free. Like he does stuff that Perry does, but like he does it for free. Like somebody in the chat will type in, "Hey, you should pour milk over your head," and he'll go do it, which I think is crazy. So we've had a nice balance here where we've monetized certain things where Perry gets paid for it. And despite what Perry says, he got paid very nice for shredding those Scarlett Johansson pictures. Please stream the Pottstown show. That we're not going to stream the Pottstown show. It's not our show to stream, and I know it's not going to be streamed. The stand-up portion isn't going to be. They're doing a live podcast, so I think that'll go on their channel at some point. But that's that's not really our content. That's up to the Shuli Network. He ate a dog treat that was sent to him for free to own the trolls. Wow, way to own the trolls. Yeah, it's too bad. I feel bad for that guy. That's a good point, Dango. Perry for diehards is niche, but in doses could be a good thing. Yeah, and again, that's one of the things I want to do is like have like more palatable things on our channel, like have a digestible version of the streams. That's maybe not 4, 5, 6 hours. Maybe a little more condensed and universal. In all seriousness, what or who is really funnier than Perry? I've been blessed to know him for 20 years. He's comedy, whether it intentionally means to be or not. Yeah, I agree with that. He still makes me laugh. That Cobra guy needs a Tom Brennan. That's the problem. I tried with him because actually there's a connection to him. Long story short, somebody that we work with kind of knew him pretty well and said like, hey, we could work with you and maybe give you some tips on how to do things. He had a lot of problems because he had problems with his YouTube channel where he couldn't get monetized like permanently. And we were going to do something, and then like I actually talked to him on the phone, and I don't have the patience to do like PCL and then do that too. And also I don't, me personally, I don't get the whole Cobra thing. I've tried watching him, and it doesn't hit me the way Perry does at all. And he has a major drinking problem. I mean, imagine Perry with an alcohol problem. So it just, the situation was untenable. It was just non-workable. Do we have a current editor? Well, our editor is Garrett, does edits clips and shorts, but as far as somebody to like really edit like full streams, no, I don't have an editor, and I've reached out to people and people have offered, but yeah, if you are interested in that kind of thing where you can edit, shoot me an email, perrycaravellolive@gmail.com. I couldn't offer anything at this point, but if we get to a point where the problem with YouTube and Perry is nothing ever gets monetized. That's why Patreon is so important, because it does support PCL. It supports Perry. It supports myself, because we split that, and because a lot of YouTubers, they make money on YouTube with advertising and stuff. It's very rare that a Perry Caravello live stream gets monetized. It's like 1 out of every 10 possibly. It's because of language, because of other things. Obviously, with media share, there's copyright stuff, so that immediately is out the window. So, yeah. But yeah, we definitely need editor. That's one thing I want to do, and it's like maybe do a censored version of the stream that passes all the algorithms, and maybe an uncensored version, and blah 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 blah. The tips people come in from YouTube viewers, though, right? I don't know who's watching on YouTube or Twitch. You know, when the tip comments come in, it could be from anywhere. You know. That's a separate entity. I'm talking about like that's during the live stream, you know. But and that goes basically to Perry Savings. I'm talking about a thing that like generates income for the YouTube channel specifically. But yeah, like weird things, like, you know, for whatever reason, like sometimes something will get monetized, and I'm like, okay. Like sometimes we'll dispute something. But then, you know, Perry will drop the C word, you know, a million. They have all these rules, and YouTube has relaxed their rules a lot recently, actually. But even with their relaxed rules, you know, Perry's potty man. I would never censor him. I would never be like, hey, don't say that, or, you know, hey, let's clean up your language so we can get monetized on YouTube. I'm not going to do that. Perry's going to Perry, for better or worse, you know. Any update on potential sponsors? Yes, there are. It's weird because there's some sponsors that come from Stream Elements, and they're very limited in terms of like what the window is. We had one for HelloFresh, and then the promotion ended. Now it's starting up again, so we might do that. And there's a couple other ones I'm working on but haven't necessarily nailed down yet. We get a lot of offers for games. Perry Gaming, but Perry hasn't, but they're all like new games, like, you know, like PC games and stuff like that. And, you know, and you'd have to show him playing the game, and that's just not going to happen right now. So, yeah, Perry still owes Miss Alchemist $2,000 from all his swearing. That's true. Yeah, Mangrate would be a great sponsor. Yeah, there's obvious sponsors for Perry, and I think that's all going to be a part of like PCL 3.0 when that launches, is to get more of that going. Did I still want to get Perry's arrest record? Yeah, absolutely. If somebody has the ability to look into that, yeah. I did pass it along to my detective neighbor who's really good at pulling people's information. Like, there's stuff that he told me about how, like, even if you think, like he was telling me about, like, when they seize people's computers and you think, like, you have software that you think decrypts everything. He's like, no, we have keys to unlock all of that. There's nothing. There was one thing, I can't remember it right now, but there was one software he said that law enforcement has not been able to unlock yet. It was a, like, professional, like, encryption thing, and the name's not coming to me right now. But anyway, like, there's things that he has access to where it's like, you can give him an internet nickname and he'll come back like, yep, here's their entire history, here's where they went to school, here's where they here's their driver's license, here's their phone, here's their aliases, here's their here's their credit report. It's like, wow. So it's like, don't ever think you're anonymous, because don't think you're anonymous and can get away with bad stuff, because you can't. Which is kind of an eye-opening thing. But yeah, I've been meaning to give Perry to him to see if he can look it up, to see whatever shoots back. But yeah, if somebody ever has some way to look up an arrest record for Perry, I don't think it'll be that bad, honestly. I really don't. Tom, how about Perry thinking he was actually in that pool fight? Well, that was great last week when he was trying to, because that video does look exactly like him, minus the bald spot in the back of his head. But when he first watched that, he thought it was him, and I thought that was great. And he watched it again tonight, and then he wasn't he knew it wasn't him. But that was fantastic because that guy not only looked like Perry, he moved like Perry. Like it was really great. I love that the only thing that broke. I went by too fast for me to read it. Jim said the only thing that broke the illusion was Perry's own vanity. Yeah, I don't have a bald spot like that. Yeah, it'd be great to find that guy. So I don't know who is going to Pottstown and who's not, but we're gonna try to have a great time. I know Bob and Shuli are trying their best to plan it out. We have some really cool things planned. If you're coming to see Perry, you're not going to be disappointed. I think it's going to be really. I think it's going to be really good. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, especially the meet and greet. I'm bummed out that a lot of people can't come that have bought tickets, but I'm very. I think Perry's going to be very happy to, because it's been a long time since he's seen people in person. It's one thing to look into your computer screen and see all these names jumping out at you and calling you gay and this, that, and the other thing and a scammer. It's another thing where people are meeting you in person and whatever that interaction is going to be. I think it's going to be pretty special. And so we're not gonna have any merch at the actual show, and I explained that on the thing. Bob was actually really generous and said, "Hey, if you guys want to do merch, you can bring it with you." And when we were looking into it, it was just like the options were just as far as like getting quality merch like shipped in a reasonable amount of time, and I just don't want to be stuck with bags and bags of shirts, and I don't want to be responsible for like, hey, you're here for the meet and greet. Oh, you want to buy a shirt? Oh, what size? I don't want to do that. So if you want that Steal-a-thon shirt, though, it's on our website, PCL, perrycaravelloalive.com/store. Will I be filming Perry as he walks into the show? We can capture him. Yeah, we're going to get a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. That'll be for Patreon, and we'll show clips on the air, and it'll be good. There's going to be a lot of footage, trust me, a lot of footage. Mark, am I still considering showing the pilot during After Hours when they soon? No, I'm not considering that at all. No, the answer is no. No, I said I could show it. I didn't say I would show it. No, I'm not gonna do that. But if you're ever in New York. But yeah, it'll be fun. And we got some ideas for Friday's stream that should be good. The place is really nice. It's got a nice deck too with a fire pit, and I'm wondering if we could stream from out there. So I'll see there. Thought you said it before. No, I said I think my exact wording was I could show it if I wanted to, but I don't want to. So no, I'm not going to. Is the answer. Oh, how about that catalytic converter too? By the way, that was a phenomenal job. That delivery. Shout outs to the Caravello Kings on that one. Did I watch the new Dune trailer? Yeah, I did. I have a rule where I watch, for movies I want to see, I watch teaser trailers, but I won't watch the official trailer because I think they give too much away. It looked good. I'm in. I'm there anyway. There's very few movies I want to go see in the theater. I'll see the new Indiana Jones with trepidation, of course. And if they kill him off, I'm just done. but what we'll see. I want to see the next Mission Impossible looks good. And yeah, then Dune, and you know what? The Flash actually looks good because of Michael Keaton. I'll see that. Outside of that, I don't really know what else is coming out, but those are the movies that are on my we'll go to the theater to see. Oh, and Raiders of the Lost Ark is actually playing in theaters for the first Sunday and Wednesday of June. If you have a theater near you that's showing that'll be cool to see. Indy will be lame. He's too old. I kind of agree with you. I think they waited too long. What annoys me about Indiana Jones is they should have been making those movies once every 3 years. They should have been pumping them out like James Bond movies. We really should be 15 Indiana Jones at this point. What was Harrison Ford doing in the 90s? Terrible movies. And I don't understand why they couldn't have just pumped those out. So a lot of missed opportunities. But I will say the special effects to make Harrison Ford younger, de-aged, looks really great. I think that technology with the assistance of AI has really, it's not lousy Irishman de-aging. They really you look at that Indiana Jones trailer, and it looks like it was shot in 1992 or something. It's pardon the pun, but it looks really good. So I don't know. They could get it right, but I will go in with reservations for sure. Do I think Perry would dump me if he somehow came across $1 million? No, but he wouldn't take orders from me. He wouldn't things would be on his terms. He wouldn't have to. He wouldn't have to work, obviously. So would he do the stream anymore? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think he'd dump me. I actually think he'd give me some money. I really do. If he came under $1 million, I think he would realize. It's hard to believe this about Perry, but he is very generous at times. Even, I think there was a thing last week where, I don't know, he got an offer to do something for $300 or something like that, and he said, "You know what? Give it to Tom for his catalytic converter." And I thought that was really sweet. I didn't accept it, but the fact that he offered, I thought was really sweet, and he has that side of him, and that's one of the things that I hope people take away from PCL, especially longtime followers of Perry, who are conditioned to think that Perry is a piece of crap and he has no redeeming qualities and he's this awful person and this monster and that people should hate him and he deserves whatever life hands him, and that all that nonsense that people were conditioned to hearing about Perry over the years. I'm talking long-time Perry fans. If anything has come out of PCL, I would hope that people see Perry's human side and real life Perry, so to speak, and that he's a real guy and he has keep in mind when he's worked up and he's being bombarded with tip comments that are calling him gay and this, that, and the other thing, he's not always going to be showing the best version of himself, but he can be a really sweet guy and he can be generous and appreciative even if he doesn't always show it. So I just hope that people take away that aspect of Perry while watching that. And Jim says it's true. Perry bought Jim an air conditioner last summer because he got really hot down in Tampa. I think Jim's air conditioner broke or whatever, and it's great. Perry does have like Tanko says a big heart. Oh, Tim C, thank you for the super chat. I mean, that'll go to Perry, but thank you anyway. Todd, did I talk with the real Randy C update? No, I don't have an update. No, I haven't talked to him, and no, I don't have an update. But yeah, Perry can be super generous and especially off-air Perry. He can be. By the way, he can be a monster too. He can be. I'm not saying he's a sweetheart. Tom, I had a question about the Pottstown event. Me and my girlfriend got VIP tickets and was wondering what you think is the best time to show up for the full experience. This is our first time for a live show or anything, and I don't want to pull a Perry and show up too early. It's weird. I was looking up this venue, Soul Joel's, and they have a like. It's a weird place. There's an outdoor place and an indoor place. Ours is indoors, and they're having another event during the day. It's like square dancing or something like that. I kid you not. That's on their calendar. I think it's square dancing, but let me see if I have it. I believe the door is open at 5. I believe that's when I think the show starts at 6 and the door is open at 5. So I think if you show up maybe a little bit before 5, if you want to get there early, yeah. Let me see if I can find anything. But I think what I'm telling you is true. I think the show itself starts at 6 p.m., but the doors open at. Let's see. Trying to find out. I think what I said though is true, unless I say. Tom, do I still do the stream? Still do this stream? If I came across $1 million tomorrow, yeah, I would still do it. Yeah, I would definitely do it. Not only would I do it, I would put money into it to make it like really high. It would be like it would make Red Bar look like one of those streams that just do like Zoom shit, or like, StreamYard. It would be epic production level. I would put a lot of money into PCL. Yeah, no, I take pride in PCL. I would not walk away from PCL, and I wouldn't walk away from Perry. By the way, not doing this means that Perry's not paying for himself. So then I'm just paying Perry out of my millions, and that's going to go pretty fast, knowing Perry. Okay, let's see here. I'm pulling up the Soul Joe's thing. May 13th, which is us. Yeah, listen to this. Okay, it's actually more interesting than I thought. So they have a daytime show at 1 p.m. Doors opening at 12 p.m. Sex in the City themed legs and eggs drag brunch inside Soul Joe. So this is the venue that we'll be in, because we'll be inside. And this is whatever this is, a Sex in the City themed legs and eggs drag brunch. This is the daytime show. So don't go too early, because this thing starts at 1 p.m. Doors for them open at 12 p.m. And it's $50. It's even more money to go there than it is for a VIP ticket for the Uncle Rico show live, which is crazy. Yeah. Okay, so then for us, Uncle Rico show live with stand-up. Yeah. Just what I said. Starts at 6 p.m., but the doors open at 5. So if you got a VIP ticket, you want to get a really great seat, I don't know. I'd show up around 4:30 maybe. Yeah, this should be. It doesn't give them much information other than that. Yeah, each ticket includes bottomless mimosas, Bloody Marys, eggs, sausage, French toast, potatoes, juice, coffee, and tea. I mean, I don't know. They definitely got their pricing right. I wonder. That's exactly the same venue that we'll be in though, because it's inside. So and you get fed there. I don't know if there's a meal included with Perry Show. Yeah, you might want to eat. Definitely eat before going there, because I don't know what kind of food setups there. Apparently, there's a bar. But I don't know anything about anything. I don't know if it's like, if you can get away with BYOB. You might have to check the venue for that. I'm kind of as in the dark as you guys are with that. Yeah, it should be interesting. Yeah, maybe we go early with Perry so we can be a part of that and just hang out. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that Saturday goes. We'll see how we're recovering from from Friday. Stealth Chaos says, the relationship between TomB and Perry that makes PCL watchable. I appreciate you saying that. It's a double act, even if TomB does not want to admit it. No, I will not admit that. But it's out. It's Perry Caravello alive. You know, there's times where I have to interact, but a lot of the time, especially lately, I just like letting Perry roll as long as possible on his own. Perry's gonna destroy the bathroom and make it and make it next to the panish. Perry gonna destroy a bathroom and make his next seat passenger cry with his burps. Well, I think Garrett's his next seat passenger, so that should be interesting. Well, like we said, Perry's gonna have his own bathroom wherever we are. Like, so we have a house in Pottstown. Perry's gonna have his own bathroom that we'll decide on where the Perry bathroom is, and that's the only bathroom he can use, and nobody else will use it but Perry. And then we have a house in the Jersey Shore, and the same rules apply. And then wherever we are in New York, which I gotta nail down tomorrow, I think, whether it's a hotel or Airbnb. It's a bummer. We had this one place. It was just like, it was in the financial district, and the apartment, like, it's a little tight, but it can manage 5 people. And it just had this amazing view. It like looked over the city. It like had an outdoor patio. It was just crazy. So yeah, we'll figure out. Bathroom mics moving forward. No, I don't think anybody wants that really. I think that you're gonna really regret that. There's been times where we've done Poo and A, where the microphone even on his phone has been a little too clear for my liking. So yeah, the answer to that is no, no. But anyway, I should probably go because like that guy who wrote Gavin says, I stay on this thing way too long and then I complain that I have stuff to do. Although I will say, and I know Jim's the same way, Tuesday is the one day out of the week where I don't have to get up ridiculously early unless I have something to do like I did last Tuesday. Tuesday I can kind of get a little bit of a break, and that's just the way I've kind of worked it out. But I still have to plan for this trip and do a lot of other things. So I do need to get to bed at a reasonable hour. And I say reasonable as it's like 3:20 on the East Coast. Like that's reasonable. Is it possible to get JQA to turn out another classic tune for PCL? I would love that. That's up to him. Yeah, I'm very reverent. If you've noticed, I'm very reverent when JQA stuff comes up on the stream. I'll never douse that or put water on it or not buy into that at all. And it's not for any other reason than just the utmost respect for the person who does that. Without saying too much else, I have a lot of respect for for John and Mole, and I will never. There's a lot of things that I'm kind of sick of as far as like old school lore, or like things that carry over into PCL that probably have no business in PCL. But that's, I understand people like that, and I'm never gonna shit on that, and I'm never gonna, not play with it a little bit. Out of respect. That's really all it is. What time are we planning to go on Friday? I don't have a time. It could be any time. We're gonna probably sleep in. Hopefully, it'll be the earliest it would be like afternoon East Coast time. But I said 5 p.m. as like a possibility, but don't hold me to that. It could just be on the lookout for it on Friday. Follow us on Twitter at PCL official and at Perry _ Caravello and all that. Follow Perry on Instagram, even though he doesn't check it. I sometimes still post on there for like PCL stuff. That's a good time. Maybe we'll have a closer idea, and I think the day of we'll have a better idea. So, but yeah, and then I'd like to get one more stream in after that while we're on the road, possibly Sunday. That would be the easiest. New York's going to be tough because it's such a short time in New York. I don't know if we're going to be able to pull that off, but Sunday or Monday, look for a stream. We're not going to do another media share until Perry's back, probably 2 weeks from tonight, and when Perry's back in California doing these. So yeah. Tom, you're the best. Thank you. And you should do a separate commentary pod about the mainstreams with Garrett, Jim. We wanted to do that for a while, and maybe that's part of the PCL 3.0. It requires a lot of other people to, be on camera, because I figure you got to do that stuff live. Because we originally talked about doing like a PCL podcast where it'd be on Patreon and just be like pre-recorded audio. And I think, this day and age, you just got to do live video. Sometime this summer, I am going to have my new like office set up where, I can do my other job there and I can do PCL stuff, and then I'll be able to like have a camera on, and I would love that. But that means Jim also has to have one. Garrett also has to have one. And if we have Tony on, he'd have to have one. And I would love that. I would love to do just a PCL podcast like once a week maybe, or once every other week, whatever, and it's just us talking about PCL or whatever else. I think that would be really cool. But it requires scheduling on everybody's end, because keep in mind, we all have other jobs other than Perry. We all have other jobs. Jim has another job. Garrett has a job. I don't mean another job, like our main jobs. Like I have a job that's not PCL. Like that has to take somewhat priority, because it's what literally pays my bills, and so does Jim, and so does Garrett, and we would love for PCL to become our main gig, but we're just not at the point where that's realistic. So it would be a scheduling thing. We'd have to figure out what's good for everybody, but I would love to do that. That would be awesome. How do I think Perry's going to respond to East Coast time? Do I think he's going to use it as an excuse as to why he's tired? Yes, I expect lots of naps. Who'd win in a fight, Bob Levy or Howard Stern? Bob Levy all day long. It's not even a contest. Not even a contest. Do not get on. Bob Levy threatened to kill Stern. I think and it's his story to tell. I don't know if I'm getting it right, but I think he got a visit from the police or something like that, being were you really gonna? And he's like, yeah, if I want to kill him, I'll kill him. That's what. They had a big falling out, but anyway, yeah. No Danko. No, Danko would be invited on the PCL podcast. I don't want to turn it into one of those things where you got a million Zoom windows. I'd want to keep it, But yeah, I'd like to have guys like Grimace on. Maybe if people are. If some people are willing to talk about their work, I don't think Grimace minds me saying that he's behind Rappin' Randy. Maybe talk about, I'd love to have it. And by the way, Perry's never gonna watch these, so it doesn't matter if you pull the curtain back a little bit. But I'd love to talk about what goes into making some of these media shares that are amazing, and maybe have people on. Have Tony Hawk on one week, and our Tony Hawk on one week, and other people on another week. It could work really well. Gedko says he works all the time. That's the thing. You got to figure out people's work schedule. I'm lucky I'm able to do this. Not to put myself on any kind of pedestal, but I worked today, starting about 8 a.m, and then I had about an hour to change into coaching T-ball, Teddy's T-ball team, and then the game went a little late, which is why we were late starting the stream, and I darted home and got Perry on the line, and then went right into it. I didn't even eat dinner, so it's a long day. And then tomorrow I'll have a little bit of an easier schedule, but we practice tomorrow. T-ball practice tomorrow. It's at 5, so I'm gonna actually miss a game on Saturday, but I got another person coaching the team on Saturday. Should be funny. I didn't mean funny. It should be good. Bob is such a sweetheart. I'm glad he has PCL's back. I agree. I love Bob, and I think Bob is great with Perry. I think they have a very unique chemistry that's not like, obviously they're very different from the chemistry I have with Perry. And he genuinely loves Perry. He genuinely loves Perry. He loves PCL. Anytime I tune into anything that he's doing, he's always wearing that PCL for Life shirt. He's just a super great supporter. I'm really glad that we made that friendship and that connection, and we're kind of big, part of a bigger family with Bob and Shuli Network overall. It's been great, and then believe me, I would tell you if I thought otherwise, but I think it's great. And he's really good with Perry, and that's not easy. So yeah, and I would like to do some kind of show where, like, because I know they would obviously like to have Perry on their network for a show, and obviously I would like Bob to be on our network for a show. So we got to figure out how we can like co-stream or something. Like, we'll figure it out eventually. How weird is it as a former Stern fan and working with Bob and Shuli in some capacity? That is very strange. I mean, strange in a good way. But I've known Shuli for a while. I met Shuli years ago in New York, and he knew about Perry, and I think at the time Jay Thomas had just passed away, and Shuli worked. I think Shuli was a co-host on the Jay Thomas show. If you don't know who Jay Thomas is, he's an actor, but really great radio personality, and he had a show that aired on Stern's, I think it was like Howard 101 or something like that on Sirius, and he did a show on Fridays when, of course, Stern wasn't on. And it was great. It was a really, I always liked Jay Thomas. He had legendary David Letterman appearances, and he was just a radio pro, great storyteller, no-nonsense guy. And he passed away. God, it's a long time ago now he passed away. Cancer. And I think it was not long after he passed away, and I talked to Shuli about how much I loved Jay Thomas, and he was saying how much he learned from Jay Thomas and how much Jay taught him. He was working with Stern at the point, but he was kind of saying it in a way that, and it's maybe just my interpretation because he never confirmed this, but he was saying it in a way that Jay taught him more about radio than Howard ever did, as far as being a broadcaster. Obviously Stern had the biggest radio show of all time, and that's where he cut his teeth and everything like that. But he had a lot of reverence for Jay Thomas, and so we talked about that. So I've known Shuli, not that we're like best friends or anything like that, but I've at least known him for a long time. And Bob, I've only come to know recently, but it's funny. Like, he'll text me throughout the show, and he'll we talk all the time. So they actually were doing Legion of Skanks tonight, which airs against us. But I'd be curious to see the replay of that. But anyway, I mentioned to Bob, I said, hey, if you can reach out to whoever books Legion of Skanks, which is like, Louis J. Gomez show from New York, and they do it on Mondays. And, we're going to be in town next Monday. I'd love to get Perry on Legion of Skanks. So, maybe after we do the Chrissy appearance. But anyway, so I asked Bob, I said, hey, can you talk to anybody over there? Like, who do I get in touch with about possibly booking Perry? And he's like, yeah, no problem. So it's just really cool, like that he looks out for Perry like that, looks out for PCL like that, and vice versa. So, and it'll be cool to see their dynamic live on stage in Pottstown. It was great to see the Norm Macdonald Perry crossover there. Yes, it was good. And by the way, shout out to that Queensboro Bridge story. If you're even a passing Norm Macdonald fan, I would highly recommend Norm's book, and not the book itself, but the audiobook version in particular. It is it's a phenomenal listen. It's a phenomenal. I'm looking forward to listening to it again. And he of course does the audio, and it's the best audio. It's the best audiobook I've ever experienced because of just how he works it. It's really good. So anyway, it's I think it's called Based on a True Story is the name of the book. And if you have Audible or anything like that, that would be great. Yeah, Perry on Legion of Skanks would be great. It's a great show. It's a great platform for him. It's a lofty goal to see if we can get that going, and I don't know if we can, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so if we can do Chrissy and Legion of Skanks, that would be a total win for New York and make the trip to New York completely worth it. Because that's just also exposing Perry, like I was saying earlier, to a completely new audience. And that's what it's about going on these shows. And I'm sorry if people get their feelings hurt if Perry goes on a show that doesn't align with your ideology or politics or whatever. Just keep in mind, it's not us endorsing this person or that person's politics. It's just exposing to a new audience. That's why anybody goes on any show. Exposing to a new audience. I was talking earlier about how I talked to Gavin about it, and he, he totally got that, and we laughed about it. I think he actually tuned in last Monday because that's when we talked about it. I think it was the last Monday or the Monday before. I'm confused now, but yeah, I think he's slightly more updated now because I did hear a clip of him talking about me on Anthony's on their last show together, which was last Wednesday, and all of a sudden, like he mentioned, like I don't know, he was talking about something. And he's like, "Oh, it's like Perry and Tom Brennan, and now Tom Brennan works with Perry, and they have and like, oh, somebody got updated on their Perry lore rather quick," which was it was funny. It was a very short conversation. It didn't last long. All Compound shows are great. No, there's certain Compound shows I'm not... Well, first of all, here's the thing about Compound. I would only do Chrissy and Anthony's show, Anthony Cumia. Every other show on that network is worthless. What's he going to do, Morning with Bill Schultz? Like, does anybody even watch that show or listen to that show? Would love to see Perry at Skankfest. I did think about that because that's Skankfest is this like annual festival that Legion of Skanks runs in it. Perry would be perfect for Skankfest. He's but that's if like the people, like I don't know if like Louis J. Gomez like even knows that Perry exists. Burning Bridges was awesome. Oh, that's Kevin Brennan. Yeah, that was I did like Burning Bridges. That was good. I liked Burning Bridges. And Gavin's show was great on Compound. Pre Proud Boys, Gavin's show was amazing. That's when I was on, and he would talk about Perry and stuff, and it would just kind of be all over the place, and he would have all these kind of guests on, and when he was in his wheelhouse as being a lifestyle guy, it was fantastic. I'm sure his show is still great. I don't know. I don't listen to it, but I'm sure he's still great. Please don't send Gavin any more long emails that I'm bad mouthing him because I'm not. Ooh, Skankfest is in Vegas this year. Yeah, the thing about Legion of Skanks is I'm usually pretty good at figuring out a contact person, and I couldn't find anybody that like books their show, and like there's a contact on their website, but it's just a generic form, and I did write to it, but I didn't hear anything back. So I don't know. So I'll see what Bob says tomorrow if he talked to anybody. Do I dabble in chat? I don't know what that means. Tony Hinchcliffe is close to the Skanks. Yeah, see, Tony's hard to get in touch with, though. Even though he did shout out Perry on Rogan recently. But yeah, that'd be cool. And I can't think of any other shows that would be really great for Perry. I mean, obviously, getting him on Rogan, that's not going to happen. But getting him on Rogan would be amazing. Or, even like that H2 podcast, which I don't listen to, with anything with a big audience. I'm going to put aside my feelings for certain shows. Look, Stern asked for Perry to go on. I of course I would do that in a heartbeat. That would never happen either. Oh, Tim C, thank you again for the super. By the way, first time getting super chats on After Hours. Was hesitant on the Norm book since All Lies and Fishtails, but on your recommendation, I'll try the audiobook. Getting it out. Tim, you're not going to be disappointed in Norm's audiobook. It is so worth it. It's one of those things. I remember driving to Pennsylvania, actually. I was going to my sister's house, and it was one of the times where I listened to the book, didn't get through the whole book on the drive, but it was one of those times where I was actually annoyed that I arrived at my destination because I had to turn off the book. It's that good, and Norm's delivery is perfect, and he's very playful with it. And it does some very interesting things. H2 would try to get you canceled. I don't know if that's true. I only know of half of these things I only know about from Red Bar. I don't know H2. I don't listen to H2. There's some podcasts that I have that I'm subscribed to, and I'll only listen to them if they have like an interesting guest on. Like I'm going through my my podcast list right now, and not that I really listen to them that much. I don't. A lot of Mets podcasts. I haven't even listened to any of those this year. I like the Fly on the Wall podcast with Dana Carvey and David Spade, but only if it has a good guest. Gilbert Gottfried's podcast, but of course, no longer having new episodes. I like the Inside of You podcast, and that's with Michael Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor on Smallville. And it's one of those shows I only listen to if there's a guest I'm interested in, but that has good things. Jim Cornette Experience every now and again when I'm in the mood for that. Red Bar, but hasn't been lately. I just haven't been keeping up with it. Anthony Cumia's show. The Rich Eisen show I like a lot, but again, that's guest dependent. Stuttering John, I have in there. By the way, I know Stuttering John's a big topic of conversation with people. Like goof on him. I listened to Stuttering John when he first started podcasting, and I listened because of just how bad his show was before people were even talking about it. And then like, what are these podcasts? I think talked about it once, and they kind of blew the doors open. But I will say I was on the ground level. Thank you, Fancy Mortimer, for $5. Love you. Any thoughts on the show Peep Show? I never heard of it until just now. I haven't seen any new show in a long time. The last new show I watched was Obi-Wan on Disney Plus last summer, whenever that came out. Yeah, Jimmy Dore. Does Jimmy Dore have a podcast? Jimmy Dore is a huge fan and a really good guy. If he has a podcast, I would check that out. No, wow. This is a furry. I'm just gonna read them because I can't put them up right now. But ScriptX, Retro Willie here. Love your boring after hour sessions, Tom Altapastel. You're very welcome. Yeah, that one guy didn't like them. Hey, by the way, hanging on to 321 viewers strong on YouTube, and then another 120 on Twitch. So there's to the guy who said I had 10 people that watch or listen. Oh, Peep Show is a classic UK show. Then I've probably seen it. Just forgot about it. I'm very picky with British comedy, though. A lot of it doesn't hit me right. And I think I've probably said this before, but I hate British production for TV. I hate the way it looks, and their comedies where they're on location, like there'll be people in a park, and then you'll have a stock laugh track. It just drives me crazy. Like, where are these people watching this? Oh, he's Jimmy Dore on YouTube. He's got a fedora just like Perry's. Okay, cool. I didn't know that. I've talked to Jimmy now and again, and I know he watches PCL. He was a huge Big Three fan, so yeah, he's great. He's been on Gavin's show too in the past. Really, really good guy. Yeah, support Jimmy Dore if you're a PCL fan. Unless he's political, then don't blame me for steering you there. I don't know if he is or not. Tim, thank you again. $9.99. Wow. You've mentioned Jim Cornette. I'm connected to lots of wrestlers, RVD, etc. I could piss Chris Jericho on his podcast twice. Happy to help. He's a friend. P.S. God's work. Yeah, I actually, if I dig deeper in my podcast subscriptions, I do have Jericho's in there too. Yeah, Tim, if you can get Perry on Chris Jericho's podcast, I mean, I will bow down at your feet. That would be amazing. Really, there's very few things I'm going to say no to with Perry. I'm even kind of warming up to Gavin because after I had that conversation of it, but I have to have the sensibility of, the fact that, because Gavin was telling me on the phone, he's like, no, and by the way, this is Gavin's words. He was like, no, I get it. When I was explaining how, interpreting that email he got, he was like, what's this? I was like, no, it's just a public. He's like, no, I get it. He goes, do you know that I'm not even allowed to be on anybody else's YouTube? Like, if you had a clip of me on your channel, YouTube would remove it. Like, that's how he's like YouTube cancer. And this is him saying it. This is him telling me. This isn't me like talking shit. This is him telling me. We were on the phone for a while. And he was like, yeah. He's like, that's how effed it is. So, he was like, he's like, no, I get it. He totally got it. But say what you want about, his political stuff, but he is he's been on board with Perry before almost anybody else. Alex Jones. Alex Jones is such. Does anybody take him seriously? Because when I think of Alex Jones, I think of gay frogs and like he's kind of like a caricature. So I'd almost think that would be funny for Perry to go on there, but I don't know. How many homers has Teddy hit in his T-ball season? Well, here's the thing about T-ball: you don't keep score, and when you play a game, every kid who gets up at bat to hit a ball, like you hit the ball until you get a hit, and then you run to the base, and even if the ball gets to the base to technically have an out, which it never does, you still stay on the base, and you run all the bases. And then what we do is we go through the lineup, and then we take turns with who the home run hitter is. And when you're a home run hitter in T-ball, it just means that you've reached the end of your lineup, and whatever ball is hit is going to be a home run. It's going to be considered a home run, and everybody clears the bases and touches home. And just seeing these kids, their faces, like they're a little like scared about like hitting, like running to first base, like dropping the bat, getting to first base. But then they kind of all know how to run the bases now at this point. But they have such a great expression on their face when they're coming from third going home. And Teddy was just like so delighted because everybody's cheering. Even like if you're a family on the other team, everybody cheers. Everybody cheers, and it's just great. There's just, you're not going to run into any real problems in Little League until you get a little older and you start keeping score, and then it gets really competitive. It's great, and it's definitely a lot more than I thought it would be signing up for this. But it's just it's really sweet, and so he has hit home runs. He's gotten some hits, some like solid hits. off the tee. It's been cool. Speaking of British TV, I heard they were bringing back Faulty Towers, which seems crazy to me. Like they're doing a new run of Faulty Towers with John Cleese. I don't know how that's going to work. Perry would believe everything Alex says, and then they'd still be yelling the whole time. Yeah. The only thing that worries me about Perry going to any kind of political show is if the person talks about politics and like goes down some really weird like conspiracy theory area. It was like, yeah, and Perry will just buy into it. He's like, I know, and then like, yeah. Isn't Cleese like 90? I guess. I guess he's maybe. Alex and Perry would be so be a good stream show. If we were invited on, and I would fly down to Austin. And by the way, Alex has a good hookup with Joe Rogan. I'd be like, hey, hook us up with Rogan, and we'll go on there. But yeah, anyway, yeah. I mean, I'm at the point though where I remember when Perry first went on that Steel Toe show, which, by the way, I legitimately didn't know anything about. Never, I don't watch it. And the guy that hosted, the guy Aaron, was super cool. He asked about Perry coming on his show a long time ago, even before we got into the whole relationship with the Shuli Network, and I just put him off. I said, hey, can we talk about this in the new year? And then he asked again, and I just, like, hey, he was really cool, and he asked, and, he had a decent following, and I had no idea. He had so many messages like, oh, I guess you guys are making Perry, conservative now. He's going on all these shows. Like, no, it's not like that. I didn't even know. I had no idea that show was any political thing. Like, what am I supposed to, like, watch all these shows? So, I don't know. Don't get your panties in a bunch if Perry does, these other shows. Ricky Berwick went on Alex Jones and wasn't very political. That's mainly because whenever Alex would bring up politics, Ricky would change the subject. I've heard like clips of Alex Jones talking about like Star Wars, and I find, because he's actually a big Star Wars fan, and I find that fascinating. Like a guy like him, when it was a clip when like the new Star Wars game, I think it was like Force Awakens, like the first movie of the new, not so new anymore, but like the Disney trilogy. And he was reviewing it, and he was like and he was being like very like conspiracy theory about, yeah, of course they have the female in there, and she's got all the powers. Of course, you could tell, it's like she, and I just found it entertaining. Alex is a good dude. I feel like he has been demonized. Well, maybe that's true. I'll tell you what though. If you give Gavin shit for like Proud Boy stuff, you got to give Alex shit for that whole lawsuit he got involved with the the shooting in Connecticut. Why can't I think of the name of the school? Where all like the families like lost their kids and everything like that, and he was trying to make that a conspiracy theory. That's a major L in his column that he's I think he's begrudgingly admitted he was wrong now, but at the time it was just a bad look. There's really no coming back from that one as far as I'm concerned. Sandy Hook, thank you. Get back. Sandy Hook, yeah, the Sandy Hook thing, and like you don't have to be a parent to be affected by Sandy Hook. You just have to be a human being, and for him to turn that into like saying that it was all staged and everything. And I knew somebody, I have distantly, if that's a word, I have a friend whose friend lost a niece in Sandy Hook. So for him to say that it wasn't real, or just trying to sensationalize something like that, where it was like your first instinct is to debunk this. Like, I don't know. So that gives me icky feelings about Alex Jones. But I having said that, I still find him entertaining. Yeah, you should be allowed to question some things, Mumbles, but I don't know. There's a line there that I just, Perry turns Antifa for PCL 3.0. Can you imagine Perry as Antifa? That would be. I don't think he's cut out for it. He's too lazy. By the way, they're really like the most like you got to be. Like, he'd have to take the major energy pills to, like, Perry blocking traffic or, whatever else they do in, like, protest. See, somebody else says, Alex is a good dude. Are you nuts? So, yeah, it's just, like, here in PCL, this community, we're not political. We or we can be political. It's just that we leave our politics at the table, and we get in the weeds in these kind of conversations, and someone's always going to get offended. I knew Perry would bring up knowing someone in 9/11 as soon as I did. Yeah, of course, that's typical Perry. That's typical Perry. That's like, if I say something, he will. Yeah, I saw that coming a mile away too. Perry couldn't understand politics if he tries, says Danko. He just doesn't get it, so shouldn't be a big deal if Perry is on the left or right. Is on a left or right leaning show. He should be immune to the political sides. Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. Yeah, the only thing that comes up is like the thing with Gavin is just that how polarizing he. Like, even people. The thing about Gavin is even the people that didn't know who Gavin was. Because he was kind of this, like, counterculture figure, but now Proud Boys thing happened, which is not really his deal. I think I believe him when he says, that he just kind of created this, like, kind of jokey, a club for men, and then the people that joined are the ones that kind of took it to a crazy level. But having said that, he didn't exactly distance himself enough for it. But that's just my opinion and whatever. But the amount of people that know him now and look at him like, oh, he's literally Hitler, or he's this or he's that, is crazy compared to, just a few years ago he was doing a movie based on. He had a movie, like, based on his book, and then he was filming another, like, series. I don't ever know what happened to that, because that was, like, right around the time where all that stuff blew off. He was constantly going out to L.A. pitching shows, and all that got taken away because, he went hardcore on the political thing. Thanks again, Tim. $5. Serious question. Adam Carolla podcast with the history. Any chance of a guest there? Yeah, I think so. I think Adam is another guy that's kind of out of touch with Perry. I used to listen to Adam's podcast like once in a while. His voice gets on my nerves. But I think, it'd be a little weird, I will say, though, with the relationship that Adam has with Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know. But yeah, if the opportunity arose, of course, is Adam Carolla's podcast still I don't think it's as popular as it was, like, let's say 10 years ago, but it's still, I would say it's still popular, right? Because I know at one point he was like, him and Rogan were the top guys in podcasting. I remember when Gavin was always at Red Eye with guy with Greg Gutfeld. That was I used to watch Red Eye. I used to like Red Eye a lot. It was on, like, Red Eye was a show on Fox News, and again, this is like a long time ago. This is pre-Trump, so it was kind of funny because it was like all these, like, guys with, like, a lot of hard opinions on there, and they would say things that you couldn't say during normal times on a news network. Somebody says, love your neighbor. I forgive Gavin for Proud Boys, he's fun. That's a good way to look at it. You know how you said you have a friend whose friend was affected by Sandy Hook? If you said that to Perry, he would say he has a friend who was affected by Sandy Hook too. I sure as hell hope not, because but you know what? You never know. You never know. Yeah, I even feel a little cringe saying that I know somebody who knows somebody who lost somebody at Sandy Hook. Right? But I always like the. I don't know if they still do it on. Somebody says Andrew Tate is a good guy. Never mind the sex trafficking stuff. Okay. On Corolla Show, they played this for anybody who's ever listened, the IMDb game where they name a random movie, and you have to not IMDb, but you have to figure out the Rotten Tomatoes score, if it's fresh or not fresh, and a lot of it was always fun. I remember listening with my friend Robert, because he was a big Corolla fan. I think still is, and we'd just be hanging out drinking in his pool. And he'd have the podcast on in the background, and whenever they played the Rotten Tomatoes game, we would always be at attention, and we'd be take it really seriously, and people go both sides, and then they finally give the answer, and you're like, oh, I had it, or no, I was way off. So. Affinia on Fish Tank. I think somebody asked that earlier. I don't know Fish Tank. Oh wait, no, Fish Tank is that thing. Yeah, it's I think it's cool. I've not really checked in on it, but I know that it's a great. That's kind of Fish Tank is kind of what the ultimate version of PCL would be, where it's 24 hours. You have to have an enormous infrastructure with that. But yeah, I think Fish Tank's a good idea. I couldn't hang with it that long, but it's very interesting. Very interesting. Very, very similar to PCL in a lot of ways. And I would kind of like to do that if we ever had, did a real content house where we just ran a stream 24 hours, with Perry, Perry sleeping and, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Very, very cool. Fish Tank. And really credit for putting it all together. It's not 100%. It's not a completely well-oiled machine, but yeah. What's the IRP? Did it go down or something? I didn't follow. I didn't follow it that extensively. Is it gone now? Oh shit, it's 4 o'clock. I gotta get the hell out of here. What am I doing? I really came on to be like, hey, thanks guys for hanging out. We got a big week planned for everybody coming to Pottstown. It's gonna be a great time. Let us know who you are and make sure to tune in. We're gonna do live streams on Friday and possibly blah 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 blah. And then here we are. I kind of that guy who wrote that long-winded complaint to Gavin. Was kind of right. It's stupid. Stupid. What did he call it? I forget the. I can't find it now. After show. I know. I always say it. I know. I get it. Whatever. I'm an asshole. I'm not saying otherwise. I always say things that just either they don't come true or there's one recently I was going through some old PCL thing because I'm trying to get I'm going to try to get more premieres up on YouTube on Saturdays, so I had to go through some old one, because you got to do all these rechecks, or YouTube changes its thing all the time, so things that weren't flagged as copyright back when I first uploaded it, they're flagged now, and I had to go back in anyway. I was listening to myself prattling on during the regular PCL stream, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna be doing this thing where we're gonna have like multiple cameras in the apartment, and so every day. I'm like, well, that never happened. Why did you say that? Like, maybe so things like maybe I want to have happen and things that actually happen are two different things. But don't hold that against me. It's like when you tell Perry you aren't doing hot and he acts like a fool, and when you say won't go long, you go long. PCL psychology. I know. But is this long though? I don't even know how long we've been on. I don't think it's that. Is it that crazy long? I don't think it's crazy long. I think it's done longer. Oh, there's been times where I've been sitting here like just like whatever, unwinding, as Grimace says, and yeah, and I have. This is a good thing to unwind from the stream, even though this wasn't a crazy stream. I do like to unwind. I can't shut the stream off and go right to bed. Although I did that last week. It's just there's times I've been sitting here and it's just all of a sudden daylight, and I'm like, oh my god, I am so screwed today. So. Fish tank is no TomB week. Yeah, can you imagine? Yeah, I know. Wait, so did fill me in? Was this fish tank? That was just an experiment, right? And it's over now. Like that's not still going. Coors Light Kid, I lost this account and just got it back, but watched some other names. Oh, sorry to hear that. A lot of people do that. A lot of people, like, all of a sudden, like it's weird. I hear from, like, somebody will write or, like, message the PCL account and be like, there'll be a name that I've seen for a few months, like, oh, this is so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, my God, I had no idea, because that was, like, a name that I saw a lot, like, like, let's say over a year ago, and then it disappeared. It's like, no, I just changed my name. So I know either people change their name or they get different things. Oh, it's still going. 6 week long. Okay. I checked in on it a couple of times, and I didn't check in on it again. But I'm interested in the technology of how they're doing it. Like what the setup is. PCL is cocaine. Oh, I hope that's not the case, because cocaine is bad for you. I'm still here after all these years, but I'm on the troll list. Is there a troll list? Yeah, by the way, Jimmy Carter's still hanging in there. I mean, God, I remember it was my birthday. I remember being out on my birthday. Or maybe it was the day before. No, it was a couple of days before my birthday. It was my birthday, we did a stream. Anyway, I was out to dinner, and like the news broke that Jimmy Carter was being admitted into hospice care. And, I had just lost my mom, and I know what going into hospice care means. And, God, so that's 3 months ago, and he's still in hospice, and hospice is where you go for your final days, and they just want to make you comfortable, and he's still going. So yeah, I mean, the stamina of somebody that can do that, because they're not looking to extend your life in hospice. They're just literally making, trying to make you as comfortable as possible. So the fact that he's still hanging on there is really just amazing. I found Perry in Just Chatting when you could still sort from low to high. Oh, okay. That's cool. Oh, thank you. Sorry, somebody said sorry for your loss. Yeah, my mom passed away in late January. My friend was in hospice care in 2009. Didn't last long. Yeah, they don't. And you could just, there are some facilities that are a little slightly longer term hospice care, but if you're going into hospice care, it's really at the end. But so the fact that he's lasted this long is really incredible. My mom lasted just shy of a week. She entered hospice on a Friday, and well, actually a week, and then she passed away early morning the following Friday. So she lasted a week, and that was with no food. She wasn't, she wasn't awake at any point during her stay. But that's I was really proud of the fact that she lasted as long as she did. Did Perry take down his tweet with his phone number? Oh no, that wasn't his phone. That was me. I saw Perry interacting on Twitter with some obviously scam account, and he was answering her back and forth, and then the scam account asked for his phone number. It was like some female thing, and I responded to it under Perry, and I just put Jackie the Joke Man's joke line number, which is 516-922-WINE 9463. I have it memorized because I would always fill that out on any form where I need to get my phone number. I always get Jackie's number, so I gave her Jackie's number. So it wasn't his phone number. He's pretty good with that. I haven't had to change his number in over a year. Yeah, hospice facilities are, as Danko says, the hardest places to work in. I got to know a lot of the nurses, the brief time that I was there, a week, visiting my mom. It's just how dedicated they are, and they all said to me that everybody that comes in, they treat like it's their mother or their father, with the utmost care and respect. Obviously sometimes you see videos of people being abused or whatever, but that's the vast minority. I'm not hip to news, Howard Stern news, Tom. What's the Stuttering John thing you mentioned earlier about? No, I just meant how, making fun of Stuttering John has become an industry. Like the Stut Joe, is it the Stut Joe, the Dabbleverse, where, like the Shuley Network, like the Uncle Rico show is based on, watching clips of John's podcast. I think John hinted recently that he was going to come back with a podcast of his own, and he's really a fool for not taking advantage of all this attention that other people are getting from watching his stuff. So yeah, that's the only news. Other than that, I have no idea. Stuttering John did a fake heart attack years before Perry. I didn't know that. Did he really? Like, it was on his podcast. There was a period where I listened to his podcast when he did it and then I couldn't even, and I was just listening because I was a former Stern fan and I thought he'd be giving like good Stern stories, and then I listened because it was just so bad. Like it literally sounded like he was doing like a tape recorder at his kitchen table. I'm not saying this sounds great. Yeah, but it was just so bad. But, I don't know. I think there's some things that say that he's a substitute teacher, and I know he's not the greatest at stand-up comedy, but he's arrogant, and he's become arrogant. But he just seems like a different guy than the guy that used to be on Stern, because I used to like him on Stern. I don't know. He just seems really, I don't know if it's a drinking or whatever. He just seems really out of it. But anyway, yeah, he could be making a ton of money if he just leaned into this a little bit more. Oh, he's on the Stern show. Why don't I remember that? Because I have a like almost encyclopedic knowledge of the Stern show up until when I stopped listening, which is like 2015. Why don't I remember that? Jackie was on Casey's YouTube. So, it was a good interview. If you're an old school Stern fan, I just caught it live because it just popped up on my YouTube. So Casey has a YouTube channel. Casey's going to be in Pottstown too. He interviewed Tom Chiasano, who was the general manager at K-Rock, which was Howard's like home base station based out of New York. And he was kind of like looked upon as the enemy a lot of the times because of like he would do censorship or he would be cheap, and Stuttering John famously beat him in a golf game. But it was he was on for a little over an hour, and it was really good. It was really interesting to hear what Tom was up to. Neither one of them really badmouth modern day Stern. They kind of dance around that. I think everybody kind of does that, even like Shuley, who probably has some stories to tell, but he never badmouths Stern. That's why I think it's amazing that Shuley went up full on like anti-Stuttering John, because Shuley is such a diplomat, and he's like, he's really like cool about being professional, but like Stuttering John must have been such an asshole that even he was like, all right, F this, I'm going all in. Mumbles. Tom and I are the same Facebook groups, but he unfriended me. I unfriended a lot of people on Facebook because I never used Facebook, but I always got annoyed where people, like if I did post something like family related, whatever, somebody would always write in like, oh, have Perry do this or whatever. So I just got annoyed with it, and I just kind of unfriended anybody I didn't know personally. But you know what? Tell me who you are, and I'll send me another one, and I'll refriend you. It's not that big of a deal. I don't really. I don't think that deeply about Facebook, to be honest with you. Oh, Shuley, yeah, I could see Shuley being a fence sitter on that, but then I remember that video that Stuttering John did. Like Stuttering John, like on his horrible podcast, like he would always like think that his great interviews with celebrities back in the day was based on him and his talent, and not the fact that other people wrote the jokes for him, or like the things to say to celebrities. Fred, Jackie, Howard, whoever else wrote for him. John just had the same thing that Perry has, which is no shame. Perry can walk to 7-Eleven dressed as Skittles Man. No shame, which is a superpower in a way. Just balls of steel. And that's what John had. So he was trying to like, oh yeah, I'm going to bring that back. I'm going to start interviewing celebrities again. But it was terrible. First of all, he couldn't get into anything. And he tried to confront Shuley when Shuley was still working for Howard Stern. And this is a number of years ago now. And he was in LA. You could see it on YouTube. And Shuley's just in there, like in his hotel, like either checking out or checking in or waiting to be picked up to go to the show. And John is like stalking him. He's got his camera on and he's confronting Shuley. And and Shuley came to work on the Stern Show long after Stuttering John had left, so I don't even know what their history is. And Shuley handled it really well. He just completely blanked him. He didn't say anything to him. He just completely ignored him. But it was just like straight up harassment. And it wasn't funny. It was just annoying. And I don't know if that played into anything about Shuley finally snapping and telling John to go F himself. Do I remember when John walked into the house of the Virgin Mother? Yeah, I think we talked about that fairly recently. Like, yeah, there was this. That was one that I listened to it live. There was a thing in New Jersey where this woman claimed to have the image of the Virgin Mother on the wall. That was another thing John was great at. He was a great man on the street guy, feeding back stuff to Howard and taking direction. He was great at that. And then I remember him pretending to cry for the woman when he got to the Virgin Mary image or whatever. And it was really cool. And then, he would also be great for shit-talking people or, like, giving all the gossip of the back office or, like, throwing people under the bus if he knew it was good radio. That was all great stuff, And I know he wasn't I know he claims to have been a writer on the show. I know he wasn't a writer, and I know he was basically just a guy who answered the phone calls. But he did have other roles on the show that were really good, and he was really good at that stuff. He was good at the homeless game. John was the guy that always went out there to talk to the homeless people, and, when he was live on the air with Howard, and they'd play a homeless game where they'd all bet on whether the guy would answer the right question. John was great at that. He was great at it. So, the guy that he is now is just weird. Is ETM my favorite whackpacker? Yes. With Eric is in his own league. He is so far the number one guy. The number two for me would be Beetlejuice, but it's a long separation between the two. And then three, I would go Hank, the angry drunken dwarf. And I don't know who I'd put after that. I mean, really, those are the only three that matter to me. Mattered on the show. Like I like High Pitch, but it's not that. I like. There was like a period. There was like a golden era of High Pitch, and then he just got annoying after that. I didn't care. Yeah, Mark the Bagger was great, but he had a very short tenure. Yeah, I like Riley Martin too. But those are the three. Eric number one. Wendy the R word. Nah, not Wendy. Wendy never did anything for me. Wendy was always the same. Good night, Denko. I gotta get out of here or I'm gonna be really mad at myself tomorrow. I know. I know what you mean. I'm gonna be mad at myself tomorrow. I'm gonna wrap up. But yeah, I don't know. I just think Eric is in his own stratosphere. And I really, I've said this so often that Elliot Offen would be number 4. Elliot Offen definitely number 4. I love Elliot. I love early Elliot where he was the kind of like sweet guy that was kind of telling him, he's like, "Hi Howard, I'm Elliot," and he would go through his whole because he'd be the elegant Elliot, and then where it kind of came out that he had this whole career as like a con artist and like a guy that was in prison and a guy he had this whole story. That's when he came back with the attitude where he was like, "I'm the gangster," where he's like, gangster talk and that whole gangster era. I love any whackpacker that has different phases, and Elliot had a different phase, and I was really bummed out when he was banned from the show because I think he's phenomenal. I've seen him in New York running around. I've never met him, but I've seen him. But yeah, Elliot would be a solid 4 for me. I don't know who 5 would be. Elliot was definitely in the whack pack. Definitely in the whack pack, even if he didn't know it. Definitely in the whack pack. He meets all the qualifications. He's crazy. He checks all the boxes. There are people that call themselves like that. I always can stand that. Marianne from Brooklyn always said that she was in the whack pack. She wasn't in the whack pack. She wasn't a whack packer. That's a great. Yeah, Paul says one of the best Stutter John lines where he's talking to Ringo Starr at like a press conference, and he's like, "Oh, Ringo, what did you do with the money?" And then Ringo says, "What money? The money your mother gave you for singing lessons." It's just great. My favorite all-time Stuttering John question though is when he goes to Ted Williams. Did you ever fart to catch his face? It made me laugh when I heard it when I was a kid, and it makes me laugh now. And then, of course, his multiple interviews with Tommy Lasorda are great, and that's you can never take that away from Stuttering John. As crazy as he is now, and I know he's super cringe and all these things, you can never take away certain things he did that just brought him to like God level tier in Stern Show history. Just 0 Fs, just went up to anybody. Stuttering John interviewed the Dalai Lama, got right in front of the Dalai Lama with Richard Gere right next to the Dalai Lama because Richard Gere is like this crazy Dalai Lama, like obsessive. This is like in the early 90s. And Stuttering John goes up to him and he goes, do people come up to you and say, "Hello, Dolly"? And it just still makes me laugh. It's so stupid. Have you ever seen Killer of Comedy Village? Yeah, I've seen a couple of Killers of Comedy videos. Is that that I'm talking about the right thing? Is that like Florentine and those and Jameson and those guys? Is that what we're talking about? I may be confusing it with something else. But yeah, and then Stuttering John with Morton Downey Jr. is classic. There's so many good ones. He interviewed Imelda Marcos, for Christ's sake. For anybody that knows who that is, probably not many people. I know there's a very young audience, and no offense to Zoomers or even millennials or something like that, but Zoomers love not to know anything. And I got to kick. I don't get to see the chat that much during the stream, to be honest with you. Once in a while. But we were I was kind of talking in code to Tony Hawk the other day when he was getting in the pool, and he was going to dance around. And I referenced the I Love Lucy episode where I Love Lucy is dancing, smashing grapes. And I know Tony would immediately know what I was talking about because, Lucy gets in a fight with the Italian woman in the grapes, eventually starts picking up stuff, which Tony 100% did, really went for it. And they both fell down. Which I think, even with me saying that, Tony would have done anyway, because Tony is amazing and he knows how to take bumps. But as I was talking about, I just glanced at the chat for a second, and there was one guy saying I'm not 60 years old. I've never watched I Love Lucy. And I'm like, not just that, but I've seen just in life, people under 30 in particular, they love to brag about how they don't know any reference. I don't know that. It's just obviously I don't know it either. Neither does Tony Hawk. We didn't. That show was on in the 50s. We weren't around in the 50s. I just know it because I know it. It's a cultural thing that you should know. You should maybe know these things. You should know that reference. I'm sorry, I don't care how old you are. You should know. You should at least watch one episode of I Love Lucy. There's so many contextual references to it. You should know it. And I go out of my way to kind of maybe at least be aware of things that I didn't grow up with or wasn't aware of, things that came before me. Now it was a lot easier for somebody my age to be attuned to that because there was no internet growing up. There was no, you had basic channels. I didn't even have cable. But I know, for me, growing up in New York, I know I Love Lucy was on Channel 5 every day for years at 6 o'clock, and I would watch it. And I knew it was old, but I watched it and I thought it was funny. Same with The Honeymooners, or anything like that. It's obviously I didn't grow up with it. It was old when I was a kid watching it, but it's just yeah. And I'm kind of like Mumble says, I revel in not knowing any of their references, like TikTok and shit. Yeah, no, I don't have TikTok. And shout out to Garrett for running our TikTok. I never go on TikTok. But yeah. But anyway, just that being braggadocious about being a complete ignoramus about, major cultural icon things. Paul Morrissey, I just filmed my special in the Tropicana nightclub set from Love Lucy. It's in National Comedy Center in Jamestown, New York. That's awesome. By the way, if you know, Paul Morrissey's a very, very talented comedian. I'd love to see that special. That's amazing. I said something about Abraham Lincoln, says Illegal Deagle, and he was like, "How old do you think I am?" Yeah, that's that kind of thing we're talking about. NF $2. Does Perry know Mike Buschetti? No, he doesn't. I know Mike Buschetti was listed to be at Pottstown, but now he's not coming to Pottstown. I don't think he knows how to get there. Was there a TV docudrama last year? Yeah, there was an I Love Lucy thing on Amazon with Nicole Kidman and Javier Bardem. I didn't see it. Being the Ricardos, I never saw it. And by the way, I Love Lucy isn't even my favorite thing from that era, but it's just you got to recognize you got to recognize certain cultural things. One time I made a Married with Children reference to my coworker who's a Zoomer, and he didn't get it, so I know that feeling. Yeah, whatever. Married with Children I can maybe kind of get, because that's not in the same league as anything else. I heard a great Married with Children story. I probably told it on here before, but I'll save that for another time. Always love the Munsters. Yeah, I like the Munsters over Addams Family, and I do like Addams Family, but Munsters I think is the better show. Any idea when the movie Perry film will be released? You mean, is it Bird's Eye Witness? I think I'm not getting that right, but I was originally told in the summer, but I don't know. I'm sure we'll get an update. Hey, Lucy gave us Star Trek. That's a great point, Grimace. Desilu Studios, which obviously Desilu is for Desi Arnaz and Lou for Lucy. They created this studio. And yeah, that's produced Star Trek. Yeah, there's no Lucy, there's no Star Trek. Anybody who has an appreciation of comedy should know the classics, says Mumbles. I agree with that. You know, and there's plenty of shows that I've never seen, like comedies, like I've never seen, but at least I know the reference. You know, like I've never seen an episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show, but I know what it is, and I've seen like enough clips to have the wherewithal to to talk about it or to accept a reference. Obviously, I don't know, but there's people I don't know if maybe it's not even restricted to age. Some people just don't care. Like, oh, that's for old people. Some people don't even know Seinfeld at this point. That's how bad it is. But I think people that watch PCL, I think that it really ranges in different age groups. Andy Griffith was my number one, says Jay. Only the black and white ones, though. I'll agree with that. I'll go a step further and say the first 5 seasons where Don Knotts is full-time player. After Don Knotts leaves the show, it's just not the same. Just not the same. Peep Show, watch it. If you don't like it, I'll blow Percy, says Fancy Man. Well, for $5, I'll watch it. I'm going to write myself a note in my little notebook of PCL notes where I have timestamps for Perry's pee breaks and all that stuff. I'm going to write down. Peep Show. There's a great Jackie Gleason 60 Minutes interview. Oh, yeah, I know that one, Paul. The one from 1985 with... what's that guy's name? Can't think of his last name. He was so famous after the first year of the Honeymooners that he told them he would only do a second season if they could film it in Miami, and he would never fly. So they made him buy a train, and everyone just partied all the way down. Well, that wasn't the second season of the Honeymooners. That was when he did the Jackie Gleason show. He didn't do... CBS wanted him to do a second season of the Honeymooners, but he felt that he ran out of ideas and didn't want to water down the Honeymooners. Now, there's been different stories about why there's only 39 classic episodes of the Honeymooners. But yeah, that train ride is famous because he was afraid to fly. You can see clips of it on YouTube where Gleason is in this endless bar car, and there's like booze, women, and whatever, all the way down to Miami from New York. And it's one of those things like, man, I'd love to be on that train ride. Did I see the Rob Zombie Monsters movie? No, I didn't see it. Not that I wouldn't, but it just looks... I mean, Rob Zombie is just awful as a director, I think, personally. No, I didn't see it. Unless somebody that I respect tells me that it's good, but I know nobody that's seen it. Jackie Gleason was the best part of Smokey and the Bandit. 100% true. Smokey and the Bandit's great, though. The first Smokey and the Bandit is great. It's great. And it took me a long time to see it. I didn't see that movie until I was well into adulthood, because I always kind of wrote it off as like hillbilly trash or something like that, which was stupid because it's great. And the second one is not without its merits, but it's one of those. It's not as good as the first one, but it's worth watching. 3 is an abomination because it's just. You know, there's a story behind Smokey and the Bandit 3 where there's a completely different version of that movie where the original concept for it was because Burt Reynolds is the star of Smokey and the Bandit. He's not in 3. But there's a teaser trailer for Smokey and the Bandit 3 where Jackie Gleason comes out and, you know, he's the sheriff, you know, this I don't know. Is he a sheriff? I don't even know what his designation is, but he's trying to catch the bandit. And the tagline for Smokey and the Bandit 3 was "Smokey is the Bandit," where Jackie Gleason plays both roles. He is both Smokey and the Bandit, and there's still shots of Gleason playing the Bandit. And I don't know how the narrative worked with that, where he was trying to get in the mind of the Bandit. And so anyway, there's a rare teaser trailer. I think it's on YouTube where Gleason comes out and he's talking to the audience and he's like, the only way I can catch the Bandit is to become the Bandit. And it's like Smokey and the Bandit 3, Smokey is the Bandit. And they never went with that, and they completely redid it. Like reshot whatever they planned to do with Gleason. But apparently all that footage exists of Gleason playing the Bandit character as well as the sheriff character. So there's a whole YouTube video that kind of goes into it. I found it fascinating. Paul Morrissey says, I'm getting caught up, but I don't know if the same thing happened to Perry that happened to Tim Heidecker. A neighbor's kid was on drugs and went crazy and actually stabbed him. I didn't know that. He ended up being okay, but it was like 10 or 12 years ago. No, yeah, Perry got attacked recently, and it was just a guy who was the son of one of his neighbors that was just like high on, I guess, meth or whatever, and was on Perry's patio and thinking it was his mother's, and one thing led to another, and he attacked Perry. Yeah, I really can't get into it anymore because it's, as Perry would say, it's a legal matter. But yeah, it's one of those things that does sound like a fever dream, the Smokey and the Bandit 3. But if you look at if you're at all interested, look it up on YouTube. It's kind of an interesting story. Having said that, I've never seen the third movie in full. I've seen parts of it on TV, and it's just awful. I've never seen the other series of movies that Burt Reynolds did with like Dom DeLuise, Cannonball Run. I've never seen any of those, but I think it's similar where the third one is. Did they even do a third one? Maybe I'm making that up. I don't know. I've never seen. I think there was a third Cannonball Run, and it's supposed to be terrible. I never saw any of those. But Smokey and the Bandit came out in the summer of '77. It competed with Star Wars. I believe it was the second highest grossing movie of '77, if I'm not mistaken. You can fact check me on that, but I believe that was the case. Obviously, Star Wars being number one. Speaking of Star Wars, I saw, and I wasn't going to see it, and then I saw it. I saw Return of the Jedi in theaters. It was in theaters for 1 week. On a big, on the, it was a Regal theater, so they had like RPX, which is their version of IMAX. And I went with a friend of mine last weekend, and we weren't going to go. We were like, do you want to go? Because I never held the Return of the Jedi in very high regard. I always kind of like, it's kind of lame. It's not as good as the first two. And we went, and even though it's the new edition with all those annoying changes, but I gotta say, I loved it. I hadn't seen Return of the Jedi beginning to end in a long time, and I saw it on the big screen, and it was just, it was great. It was really great. I loved it. Even the Ewoks didn't bother me. I really, really was into it. It was like one of my, and honestly, it was my favorite experience watching Return of the Jedi since probably it originally came out. It was good. I came to some very deep realizations about that movie that I'll spare everybody from. Give me a Diablo sandwich and a Dr. Pepper and make it quick. I always wanted to taste what a Diablo sandwich was. That's the sandwich that Gleason gets when he stops into that truck stop, and of course the bandit's sitting right there. He's so goddamn good in that movie. If you've never seen Smokey and the Bandit, please watch it. Yeah, they made a sequel to The Jerk. It was called The Jerk 2, T-O-O. It was made for TV. And I remember it not being terrible. It's not terrible. It's not even a sequel. It's just kind of a retelling. I think it is. It's the same character, but it kind of goes through the same beats as the first movie. Of course, very sanitized because it's made for TV. Caddyshack 2 takes the cake for worst sequels. I've never seen it. I've never seen Caddyshack 2. But I have a small not so small. I have a little bit of a obsession with bad comedy sequels. When I used to have cable, I would go through the channels and like come across like HBO or Showtime or whatever, and whatever cable channel. And if there was a sequel, like a bad comedy sequel, I'd stay like City Slickers 2, The Legend of Curly's Gold, or Arthur 2, On the Rocks. I'm talking about like late 80s, 90s bad comedy sequels. I would watch that thing from whatever point it's at because I was just fascinated by bad comedy sequels. Bad comedy sequels specifically, not good comedy sequels, which they do exist. Favorite Star Wars character? Mine's either Palpatine or General Grievous. Han Solo. Not even a contest. But there's some comedy sequels that are so bad it just tarnishes the whole legacy of like what made the first movie great. What about comedy reboots? Give me some examples. I'm not thinking of any. But yeah, there's just a whole litany. I could do a marathon. Like if you put on a marathon of bad comedy sequels, I'd watch as much of it as it is. This is a controversial thing from Paul. I love Fletch Lives better than the original. I know everyone hates it. I'll say I don't hate Fletch Lives. I saw Fletch Lives in the theater, and I enjoyed it at the time. And it's got its moments. But it's just... I can respect you loving it, but I can't... It's just... The original is actually a good movie. The original Fletch is good. Even though the Fletch character is almost a little annoying because he's so... Like he's never serious. But, yeah, the second movie is weird. I like it up to a certain point, and then it gets weird. But yeah, and I'll agree. I think Gremlins 2 is better than the original Gremlins, but it's Gremlins 2 is such a different category of sequel because it's basically lampooning the first movie in many ways, and it just takes on a different thing. It's basically a comedy. But Gremlins 2 is really good, tremendously underrated, and I will agree it is a much better film than the first movie. I wish they would have done a Gremlins 3. Anchorman 2 was mad, but you know what? I didn't like Anchorman 1. I never liked Anchorman. By the way, yeah, if you, I see people reacting to the fact that The Jerk has a sequel. It's on YouTube. Just put in YouTube The Jerk 2 T-O-O and you can watch it. It's a TV movie. I remember seeing it when it was on. That's how old I am, and I've never seen it again. But I remember liking it. I saw The Jerk 2 before I saw The Jerk 1 because The Jerk 1 was the rated R movie. Hollywood Shuffle is a great comedy. I actually bought that on iTunes recently because it was on sale for like $5. Great comedy. Chevy gets to do the preacher and make fun of Southern people. Phil Hartman is gonna. You know who's in that movie? He has a. This is gonna be very niche for only people that know Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. The sheriff in the beginning of the movie, I think Fletch gets in trouble because he inherits this land and then he's with a woman who dies and he's being interviewed about it. The sheriff who interviews him is an actor. I forget the actor's name, but he played Chef Brockett on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, who was the neighborhood chef and the neighborhood baker. And he's in Fletch, and I remember seeing that when it was in the theater. I don't know. I forget how old I was when I saw it in the theater. I was like maybe 13 or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, that's Chef Brockett. And I guess he was an actor too, but it was one of those things where, like, sometimes you see characters from like Sesame Street when you're a kid, and then they're in like real movies, and it's cool. Yeah, people are asking if I've talked to Randy Callahan. I've said it numerous times. I know I have not. No, I've not talked to Randy. I will probably at some point, and I've talked to him in the past, but no, I have not talked to him recently. I would like to congratulate him though on his new album, because I've got a lot of those. I got a lot of those songs stuck in my head. Terminator 2 is better than Terminator. Yeah, you can come up with a lot of sequels that are better than the original, and then there's also a series of movies that should never have had sequels and literally just stick to the first movie. I'm not a Blues Brothers movie fan, I'm sorry to say. I've tried to watch it numerous points throughout my life, and I never got it. I don't like... not that I don't like Blues Brothers, I just don't get it. It's the same thing as Caddyshack. I hate to say. I didn't see Caddyshack growing up. I only saw Caddyshack for the first time, God, I want to say maybe like 7 years ago or so. And it didn't click with me, and maybe because I went into it knowing what a phenomenal. Same thing with Animal House. I've never seen Animal House beginning to end, and it's just hard for me to get into that movie. Grimace like Son of the Mask. That's bold. Wow, I've never seen Son of the Masks. Favorite Easter egg from Fletch Dave is during the dream sequence. Zippity Doodah in Fletch Dave, they have Mr. Underhill from the first movie dancing in the background. Yeah, you know what? I think that's a thing that I read about in IMDb, but I didn't know it. But that's great. That's a great little tidbit. I wish they would have made more Fletch movies. Like there's certain series that I wish they would have made more of. I wish they would have made more Fletch movies with Chevy Chase, while Chevy Chase was still young enough to play the character. You know, Chevy made some really I think that was Fletch Lives. It might be the last decent Chevy Chase movie. Or I think Christmas Vacation came out after that, which I'm on record as saying I'm not a big fan of either, but I'm in the minority on that one. But yeah, I would have liked to seen more Fletch movies with Chevy Chase. My other favorite is Albert Finney in Miller's Crossing, dressed up like a woman, and in just the background of a scene in the women's restroom. You know, I haven't seen Miller's Crossing in a long time, but that's another great movie. Oh, you meant Son of the Mask is bad. Okay, sorry. I was like, wow, I've never heard somebody stand up for Son of the Mask. It's like that Dumb and Dumber. Dumb and Dumber, I guess, had 2 bad sequels, but one was a prequel. And I remember, I think I tried watching it once. It was unbearable. There's some, by the way, when I say I enjoy bad comedy sequels, there's some that I just can't get into. Like, I just can't, you know. And there's a cutoff. There's like a year, like, it has to be, like, once you go past the 90s, I don't really care about comedy sequels anymore. Christmas Vacation isn't good. No, I didn't say it isn't good. I just don't worship at its temple like other people do. I don't love it. Okay, I it's fine, but I don't look at it as the greatest thing ever. I like the first 2 were great. Soviet Goat says he liked European Vacation as a kid better. I'm this exact same way. When I was a kid, I liked the European Vacation as the better movie, but obviously the first movie is the best movie, and it's really just those 2 for me. Vegas Vacation, though, that's another one where I will get into that movie because it's so bad. Yeah, it's same thing. When I was a kid, Return of the Jedi was my favorite Star Wars. It just was, but. You know, obviously now as an adult, you know, I know that's the wrong answer. European is so funny. How could that be the weakest? You mean the weakest out of all of them, including Vegas Vacation? That's crazy. And European Vacation is one of those. It's one of those mid '80s movies, and there's very few like this, but it was a PG-13 movie that you could see boobs in. And there was a number of, when PG-13 first came out, they were very loosey-goosey with nudity, and you could see boobs in a PG-13 movie, and European Vacation was one of them. It was like one of those movies you could see on HBO in the afternoon and see boobs, like just one of the guys, and you knew that the moment that you would see it too, like, ooh, I think it's 10 minutes to boobs in this movie. I think I could pour a bowl of cereal and be ready just in time for the magic moment. Who's my favorite underrated actor? Robert Forster is yours, Mason Ramsey. That's a great question. There's so many. Robert Forster is a great choice. Man. You know, there's so many actors out there that are just untapped resources that I feel like, how are they not getting more work? That I just think are brilliant people. I'll tell you, if I had more time, I'd play some clips, because I came across this recently. A lot of interviews with Jimmy Walker, who, you know, JJ from Good Times, JJ Evans from Good Times, and he is such an articulate interview, and he's had such an amazing career. Obviously, he was a stand-up comedian. He was very famous for Good Times, and had some like bit parts here and there. But he was a great writer behind the scenes, and he was even into talent management. And talk about untapped resources. This guy is just brilliant. He has great stories. And if this was earlier, I'd play some clips. But do yourself a favor and look up Jimmy Walker interviews on YouTube. The guy is just brilliant. That doesn't really answer the question. You know, underrated actor can be subjective, because you can be like character actor or leading actor that just doesn't. I always like Michael Biehn. From Terminator, and he was in Aliens, and I never understood why he didn't go further. I always loved seeing him. There's certain actors that just had their moment in time for briefly, and then they just kind of fade away. I like why can't I think of his name? Big strapping guy, right? George Kennedy. He's from the Naked Gun movies, but he's also from the airplane movies. Not the airplane movies, the airport movies, disaster movies. I always liked him. I always thought he was very underrated. I always thought he had great screen presence. There'd be a long list of actors that I like that are very underappreciated. Dennis Quaid comes to mind, because I know he's kind of like on the cusp of A-list, but I just never thought he got enough respect. I always liked Dennis Quaid, and I think he's a real decent person. Yeah. I'll think of more at another time. What did I think of Shakes the Clown? Bobcat stated in it. I never saw it, so I can't. I know it's a punchline. Stiffy. Tom, you put me on to Siskel and Ebert. That's great. If I could put anybody. What's my favorite movie I found through them? That's boy. You know what? I'll tell you. There's a couple. There's a Dustin Hoffman movie I can't think of right now, where I watch like Siskel and Ebert stuff from like the late 70s and early 80s, because a lot of those movies I just wasn't around for. I was not watching Siskel and Ebert at the time. But there's a movie starring Art Carney that they reviewed, and it's called The Late Show. It has nothing to do with late night talk shows, but it's a great LA like late 70s movie, and boy, I think it came out in 77. And he plays Art Carney plays basically a semi-retired private investigator, and he partners up with Lily Tomlin, who is this quirky, like younger, I forget what her job is. She's not a private investigator, but he's investigating a murder. Bill Macy's also in it, if you know who Bill Macy is. And anyway, they reviewed it on the show saying that it was great. And it didn't do very well in the theaters. And I remember like hunting it down. I think I had to download it like from some torrent site or whatever because I couldn't find it anywhere. But The Late Show with Art Carney is one. I'm trying to think of the one with Dustin Hoffman. It was a Dustin Hoffman movie I'd never heard of. And it's another one I don't think that did very well. But I'll watch old Siskel and Ebert all the time just to find some movie that maybe I never heard of. And then I'll hunt down and watch. I'm on Dustin Hoffman's IMDb now. I'll get it. It's from the late 70s, this movie. And it's not one of the, it's not Marathon Man or anything. Oh, Straight Time. So Straight Time is a movie where Dustin Hoffman plays a guy that's on parole, and he's like a career criminal, he's a burglar, and he returns to a life of crime or whatever, and it's really good. I had never heard of it before, and I would have never heard of it if I didn't hear it. But it's got a great cast. I mean, Gary Busey's in it. M. Emmett Walsh is in it. That's a guy that I would say is a character actor that I think is underappreciated. He just passed away recently. If you know who M. Emmett Walsh is, look him up. It's one of those guys that's in a ton of movies. Kathy Bates is in it. Harry Dean Stanton is in it. Teresa Russell. It's got a really solid cast. Directed by somebody that I never heard of. Not a famous director or anything like that. I forget who wrote the screenplay. I think it was Jeffrey Boehm who wrote Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and the Dead Zone movie and Inner Space with Joe Dante. So he's attached to a lot of big movies. I think he wrote the Lethal Weapon movies, at least the sequels. He wrote Funny Farm with Chevy Chase. In fact, Funny Farm was a movie that Siskel and Ebert reviewed, and I had no interest in seeing it, and they raved about it. And then, of course, to me, Funny Farm is one of Chevy Chase's best movies. That's very underrated. But anyway, yeah, I'm glad to turn anybody on to Siskel and Ebert because I know it's so easy to call yourself a movie critic these days, especially with how cynical. Like I love Red Letter Media and I love Half in the Bag, but my problem with them is they never express any joy in watching a movie, and they never smile. It's always like they've always got a grim. They're always going for a joke, which by the way I enjoy it for the most part, but they're always going for a joke. They're always trying to like be cynical and but they do very good criticism, but they're never joyful when they see a movie that like really is good. And I know, fair enough, there's not a lot of good movies that come out these days. But one thing I loved about watching Siskel and Ebert is when they really loved a movie, you knew about it and it was like infectious. Like it made you want to see the movie. Especially, another movie that they championed was Kingpin with Bill Murray and Woody Harrelson and Randy Quaid. They raved about that movie. It's a great review. If you just YouTube Siskel and Ebert, you just find yourself. That's the algorithm I want to get back into. But yeah. Jay. Yeah, you're right, Sovico. Jay gets into it if he talks about weird horror movies because he's a horror fan and like. He can get passionate, but even then, he gets this. They're never like happy, and I think that's the thing about. And I used to do film criticism professionally. I used to, write film reviews, and I think it's one thing to be critical, but you also have to show the accolades when they're merited, and that's one thing. Yeah, Siskel and Ebert could be really passionate when they hated something, but when they really loved something that you knew, like when they their review of Fargo, for example, like they were just like in love with it, or when Goodfellas first came out, and that's one of the cool things about watching Siskel and Ebert is you can kind of time travel because you can kind of experience what it was like to see a movie when it was brand new, like watch their review of Back to the Future or the first Superman movie. So yeah, Mike is completely cynical. Like, yeah, I know, and he never used to be that bad, but he's such a grump at this point. And I get it. I can be cynical too, but you got to express joy where it is. Did Emmett Walsh still alive? No, didn't he? I'll tell you what. Then I'm thinking of somebody else that's exactly like Emmett Walsh. Let me confirm that, because I know somebody passed away. I'll tell you. Maybe you're right. Maybe he's still. I hope he's still with us. It says he's still alive. Okay, there's somebody exactly like him. Oh wait, I know who I'm thinking of. It's not that guy. Hold on. I'm thinking of another guy. I'm thinking of another guy that's exactly like Emmett Walsh, and I can't think of him right now. I'm glad he's still alive. My dad talking about Superman flies. It's funny. My dad and I saw Superman in the theater. It was a compromised experience. The picture quality wasn't great. There was some other issues, but again, the moment where Superman flies to the screen for the first time, it's still. And my dad hadn't seen Superman in ages, and he loved it seeing it the second time. Paul Lawrence said, I heard Philip Seymour Hoffman turned down the bad guy in Billy Madison. He played the friend who sucks at basketball in Along Came Polly. It's the only part of that movie that's watchable. Philip Seymour Hoffman is in some very questionable movies, but he's very good too. Oh yeah, Hard Eight's a great. Is that Paul Thomas Anderson's first movie? That's a great one. Hard Eight's a great movie. Oh, Hard Eight is an unofficial sequel to Midnight Run. The Sydney character after his boss gets busted. That's interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. Hard Eight's really good, and I'll tell you. Who's in Hard Eight is what's his name? The guy. He's in a couple of Philip Seymour Hoffman movies. Not Philip Seymour Hoffman. Philip Baker Hall, who I believe has passed away, is great in that. Just great. The Master. You mentioned Master. I didn't connect with the Master. I saw it when it opened up. I saw it in 70 millimeter. Like opening weekend, and it didn't connect with me, and I kind of fell out with Paul Thomas Anderson after that. I don't think I've seen any of his movies since then. I like Boogie Nights, I like Magnolia, and I like There Will Be Blood, but apart from that, I don't really know. I have never seen The Phantom Thread, and there's a lot I haven't seen. I never saw his movie with Adam Sandler. Who's the guy that died late recently? That looks like Emmett Walsh. Let me see if I can somehow find this guy. Sorry. Then I gotta go. I really gotta go. Charles Durning is who I was thinking about. They're kind of similar. No, not Charles Durning, because he died in 2012. Not Charles Durning. Somebody else. Anyway, somebody that looks like that kind of type. Fat Chatty Daddy, hey Tom, I got half an hour till my alarm goes off and I got to get ready for work. Gonna steal these last 30 minutes of sleep. Thanks for all your effort to put it to taking care of our boy and entertaining. Good day. Good day to you, Fat Chatty. Thank you. Thanks for hanging out. Didn't mean to stay on this long. Do I realize that I said it's time to go and now it's 5 a.m.? I do realize that. I've been father timing. I do realize that. Rain Man. Rain Man's one of my favorite movies. Rain Man's playing in theaters in September. I don't know if it's worth going to the theater to see, but I love Rain Man. TomB, the boobs and just one of the guys aren't just any old 80s flash boobs. They were pretty phenomenal. Yeah, I will say the just one of the guys is probably the best set of boobs ever captured on film. Yeah, I got the window open because I have no air conditioning here, so the birds are chirping. Actually, I'm going to close the window. Sorry. A lot of trees around here, so there's a lot of birds. You know what? Another good Siskel and Ebert review is Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, because they didn't like the first movie. No, I'm not thinking of J.T. Walsh. J.T. Walsh died years ago. J.T. Walsh died, I think, in like 2000. J.T. Walsh is another phenomenal character actor. Phenomenal. That was a real bummer when he lost. He was a good friend of Jack Nicholson. He's great in Breakdown with Kurt Russell. He's great in The Grifters. He's great in anything he's ever been in. J.T. Walsh. If you Google him, you'll immediately recognize him. But yeah, great. Great act. No, I can't think of who I was thinking of recently. Let me just see if I can Google celebrity deaths in this year. I'll see if I can find them. I'm gonna cheat. Celebrity deaths, 2023. Let's see who we lost so far. Let's see. Don't know who that is. Jerry Springer, but okay, we're looking for actors. Oh, I'm sorry. Michael Lerner. Michael Lerner is who I was thinking of. And you can kind of see where I would get him confused with Emmett Walsh. Look up Michael Lerner, and he's in so many movies. Great character actor. So I'm glad I found it. Yeah, it was Michael Lerner. That's the actor I was talking about. Moses, I just watched Breakdown again a few weeks ago. 4-star movie. I agree. It's great. It's a great movie, and it's very rewatchable. So if you know Michael Lerner, he's in so many things. He's small parts in a lot of things, big parts in some things. Trying to find if there's any like a mainstream movie that everybody would know. He's in Barton Fink, of course. I don't know how many people have seen that. Anyway, if you look him up, you'll know who that is. That's who I was thinking of, and I'm glad I found it before I signed up. Holy moly, is this still live? TomB has far more dedication than Perry, and no one can say otherwise. I don't know if it's dedication. I appreciate you saying that. I think it's just... It's a good wind down after the stream. Tom's R.I.P. Sizemore. Yeah. Nah. Mike, I never know how to say Mike's name from Red Letter Media. Stalaxka was great in Smiling Friends. Yeah, he was good in Smiling Friends. I liked that first season of Smiling Friends because they got people that they were just fans of, like a lot of internet personalities. And Gilbert, of course. They wanted Norm Macdonald, but they couldn't get a hold of him, and I think it's because Norm was sick at the time. Yeah, the publisher guy from Elf, Wavy G, right. Yeah, that's who Michael Lerner is. Yeah, that's I don't know. Yeah, I just couldn't think of him. But anyway, hey, I'm gonna wrap up. We're gonna see you sometime on Friday, hopefully. Maybe we'll do. I'm sure Perry was gonna tap out at some point and go to bed because he's got to rest up, and maybe the rest of us will hang out. We'll do an After Hours live. Well, it's always live, but we'll do an After Hours with everybody on camera and everything. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to bring some beer. I'll bring some drinks for people. Loosen up a little bit on Friday. Yeah, and I think it'll be fun. Hopefully the stream goes off without a hitch. We'll see if the Wi-Fi at the house works. If not, I did get a mobile hotspot. I'll see which internet's stronger, the house internet or the hotspot internet. We're going to get on the air one way or the other. But it should be fun. I think there's a hot tub at the house, but I'm not sure. I couldn't really tell from all the photos, but there is a fire pit. and it should be good. Yeah, I'll bring some smokes. So it could be fun. Oh, thanks, Chow Chow. I love you too. It's good to see you. Yeah, it should be a good weekend. I hope people that are coming to Pottstown have a great time. If you're missing this show, don't worry. There'll be other times to see Perry live. I promise you, there'll be other times. So wish us good luck on our journey. I'm looking for a fun weekend. I'm going to be frantic tomorrow and Wednesday, just making sure everything's worked out. Sam from Twitch was going to meet us up in New York, but his schedule changed, and now he's not going to be in New York. He's going to be in LA, so that's kind of unfortunate. But I think we're going to have a lot of fun. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out after hours. I love you guys. We'll see you Friday at some time. Sometime on Friday we'll be on the air. Okay? And we'll see what happens. Okay. PCL for life. Talk to you guys on Friday.